Hello, I'm Bjorn, your favorite elder god. My current status? Unhappily trapped inside this dark, horrible void. Frankly, not very content about it. You know, I've been known not to enjoy dark voids of which I'm currently chained to. I've been pretty on the record about that. And yet, y'all seem to keep chaining me here, right? Let's just be clear about this. I've been planning all types of horrible, horrible evils I'm going to unleash upon the world when I get out of here. There's the thing about the Dairy Queen bathroom, which I'm still very, very much into, but I've got this new thing coming out. Let's just say Half-Life 3 is gonna suck, and I'm gonna be the one who did it. Yeah, how do you like that, huh? You guys looking forward to Dispatch 2? You won't be when I'm done. All right. We're gonna do the Get Out guys too, right? I'm bound to do this, we all understand. And I wanna get this done as soon as possible. So I'm combining introducing the characters and the first act into one super video, all right? And that's this video, that's the one you're watching right now. We're gonna blow through this, all right? So let's start with introducing our characters. I'm not even gonna put their pictures up on screen, and it's not because of one particular character that I'm doing that. It's unconnected at all right? We all know the Get Out guys. I will have assumed you've seen the first movie if you're watching this. If you haven't, go watch the first one. It's necessary. I'd also highly recommend watching Captain WW2 Demonetize My Channel Please video. It was just uploaded like a week ago. Go check that out first. It's pretty short. And then come back here. All right, our first character, Rainbow Man, leader of the Get Out guys, has the ability to make hard light constructs out of color, which he can draw from the environments around him. He's also the best to ever do it. My God, he's so good. Next up, Mirror Master, classic Flash villain. I don't think I really need to introduce this guy because everyone knows who Mirror Master is. He's very popular in these nerdy circles. Next up, Eraser, kind of nervous man with a mostly good heart, and he also has the ability to erase any matter which he touches. Very, very cool. Is there more to his powers than we know? Where is his character going next? And how is he going to handle this new sort of agreement he's found himself with Mindboggler? And how will that sort of arrangement be tested when the two of them get sort of jammed into a very bizarre situation throughout the script? Find out in the script. We've got Mindboggler, very, very mentally ill girl with the ability to mind control anyone to do anything. She also happens to be trying really hard to make friends, and she's working through some issues with Eraser. Will she be able to successfully stop mind controlling everyone around her at all times, or will she backslide? Find out in the video. Up next are two new additions who also got their own origin story. I would recommend that, but it's not really mandatory viewing. It just sort of explains who these guys are. So if you like them, I've been told that that's the best short I've made. A lot of people love that one. It introduces Terra Man and Reach, who are two new additions. They were introduced at the end of the last movie, and as I said, you don't need to watch that script to fully understand what's going on here, but it definitely helps provide additional context because Terra Man and Reach are the main characters of the script. The script is really about them, more so in the second and third act, but you're really going to get to the core of what makes them a pair. You're going to really dive deep into their relationship and to Terra Man's values. What made Terra Man the way he is? Why is he so obsessed with the Wild West? Why does he have this very bizarre notion of what's good and what's wrong? And how will he handle it when that is put to a spotlight and really tested when he's faced with the reality of some of the things he believes? What will he be like when the chips are down? That's what I say. My favorite stories are, as a lot of authors say, the human conflict, the human heart in conflict with itself. And we're going to see that with Terra Man. Terra Man faced to maybe realize that everything he sort of believes his whole life might not be quite as cut and dry as he thought. So, who is Terra Man? Terra Man is a sort of, I don't know how to explain this guy. He's a metahuman with the power of superhuman reflex and accuracy. Basically, he has like spider sense, and he can never miss a shot with his rifle. He chooses to LARP as a sort of gunslinger from a Western movie. That's sort of what his whole deal is. And yeah, he's pretty great. He is in a relationship with his childhood best friend Reach, who is a immigrant from a country called Frangistan. It's a made-up country from DC. It's kind of a mix between like Myanmar and like Korea. It's not a real place. Her family is subject to a blood curse. pertaining to a demonic realm called the Reach. Someone in her ancestry long ago made a deal with a demon from the Reach, and because of that, her bloodline has been cursed. That curse slowly claims you. It claimed her father and made him go mad, and he spent his last moments taking his own life to protect her. And it sort of exhibits itself via a tentacle tattoo on her arm that slowly grows as its power grows over her, as we saw in the Terminator Reach Origin. If you're curious more about her, you can go watch that to sort of understand how she comes into contact with the LARPing cowboy. She's sort of also at conflict with herself, but in a very different way. She cares more than anything about Toby Hex or Terraman, and their relationship is very close to her. And she secondarily cares about this sort of crusade they're on, which you can learn about in that script. Their goal of saving their small town, basically, of giving it enough money that it can survive the sort of collapse of the small town that we've seen all across the world. In addition to that, she's also at war with herself and her curse. She won't say it out loud, but she is definitely terrified that one day it's going to claim her like it did her father, and that she might hurt Toby. Because she knows deep down Toby won't be able to stop her. And so it's something she's going to be grappling with in the script. Will she let the Reach claim her? Or will she learn some way to maybe defeat her own blood curse? Or maybe find the inner strength within herself to fight back? How will all of this intersect with the main plot? And most importantly, who is going to be the funniest character in the script? That's really what these movies are. Let's not forget. These are comedies with some good character work woven in. And this one, might I add, is freaking hilarious. It is really funny, especially as it gets going. I think the first act is probably, well, it's probably the third act that's actually the least funny. But the first act is funny, but not as funny as it gets. The second act is literally raucously hilarious. I think it's some of the funniest stuff I've ever written, if not the funniest stuff. Basically, take the energy from the first one, and sort of amplify it in the second one. For those who don't know, I'll go ahead and break the Magician's Code because I've not really been shy or secretive about this. This movie is a time travel film, and it's very funny in that way. I took a lot of inspiration from things like Bill and Ted, all the other time travel comedies, Back to the Future. These movies are hilarious, and I think time travel is just such a brilliant comedy premise. And I think the comedies are only as funny as your characters and situation, and I think time travel just lends itself well to comedy, especially with these particular characters. So, who's the villain? I already did a whole short introducing this guy, so I won't spend much time on him, but it is none other than Zwei, Captain World War II villain, whose name will never be said. We all know his deal, right? He is a World War II villain. He's arguably the captain of them. Specifically, Zwei is a child soldier trained in a horrible lab condition, basically. He was groomed, grossed, and forced into do heinous things to basically make him a contingency plan for the World War II villains. A contingency plan which ultimately fails, if you've watched the short. As a result, the sort of object that Zwei was supposed to use to save the Third Reich is now in the hands of the Justice League. And someone has to get it out, which is why Zwei has hired the Get Out guys. We will go into that in the script. It's Thanksgiving, guys. And let me tell you what I'm not thankful for. You guys want me to be honest? I'm not thankful that y'all chose to chain me up in here. Frankly, I'm not happy about it. You're lucky that I have to finish these scripts to get out of this horrible red dark void, okay? You're just lucky. That's all I'm saying, okay? You know what do y'all know what other elder gods would do to y'all for this? It wouldn't be pretty, I can tell you that much. It would not be nice. You wouldn't enjoy it even, perhaps. So, yeah, enjoy this script while you can, mortals. Because when I get out of here, things are gonna change. Alright, let's get into the first act. We're gonna open on the DC logos in a font that looks like ancient writing carved into stone. Suddenly, the DC logo changes into hieroglyphics, and the camera pulls out of an Egyptian hall in a dimly lit tunnel. We can see hieroglyphics all across the stone wall. Torchlight flickers in the distance, and we hear two people talking in German accents. I would say hypothetically in this scene they'd be speaking German. Obviously, don't speak German. So as always, imagine in your brains that this is dialogue in German. The first voice says, "We found it this morning, sir. A secret chamber beneath the tomb." The second voice says, "As the tablet said, the Akentar. The American was onto something. Shame he didn't live to find it. What was inside the tomb?" The first voice says, "We didn't really go in. We came for you, sir. It frightened us." The second voice says, "Why?" And the first voice replies, "It was glowing, sir. Glowing green and blue. It is not a natural thing." The second voice says, "That is precisely why I must have it." We pan down the hall, revealing a World War II villain banner, complete with a previously Buddhist symbol. We all know what I'm getting at. We all know how this movie is going to be, because we all know the premise. I am sorry in advance. As soon as we see the villains from World War II, text on screen says, 1939. Egypt, 100 feet beneath the Great Pyramid of Giza. The two characters come into frame. One is a SS person, and the other one is just a standard World War II villain grunt. We all know what these characters look like. I cannot describe them. God help my soul, YouTube is an application run by a bunch of morons. They're going to continue to move down the hall until they reach a larger tomb. It's illuminated and several more grunts mill around. We see archaeologists working. They're sort of often kind of clearly at gunpoint. Some of them are American, others might be British. I'd say they're all nationalities being forced to operate. The big bad guy moves down the hall until he reaches a large doorway. We can see a faint blue light glowing from inside. He asks, "This is it?" The man says, "Yes, sir, it is." He smiles and says, "Excellent. I will see it now." The first man nods. The SS person moves into the building. He enters the glowing room, and inside we see a large stone pedestal carved with large sphinxes, their hands sort of holding up a single glowing bronze orb. It has several symbols carved all around it, and each of them glows blue. Bizarrely, however, it isn't set on the pedestal. It hovers over it, levitating off the ground. Behind it, we can see two massive stone carvings, each of them displaying a pharaoh reaching their hands out as something from above hands the orb down. Sort of like an ancient alien sort of thing. He says, "Magnificent." He approaches the orb as an ominous music begins to play. It grows and grows in intensity. We hear a ticking clock faintly in the background. Tick, tock, tick, tock. He reaches up and grabs a hold of the artifact. With the artifact firmly in his hands, we're going to smash cut from the blue light of the orb to the blue light fading beneath the ocean. Three people scuba diving come into view. They pass through a coral reef with a beautiful blue ocean behind them. Maybe we see a couple of reef sharks swimming by. They continue down until we see wreckage at the bottom of the ocean of an airplane, a large bomber of some sort, maybe a World War II bomber. Text on screen says, 100 feet below the Bermuda Triangle, the present. The three characters continue to swim down until they reach a large underground ruin. We hear a voice crackle over a underwater intercom. I don't know if you've heard these, but when two divers talk to each other through their mouthpieces, it doesn't quite sound right. It isn't very crisp because they're talking through a bit. So imagine that. So we can't quite hear who they are. One of them says, "It's just like he said, it's there." Another one says, "Yeah, I see that." A female voice says, "Well, let's go. No time left. We gotta get it and go. We want to get paid, right?" The other voice crackles in, "Whatever you say, sweetie." We see them swimming down into the large tomb. One of them says, "The air pocket should be right here." They carefully begin to swim up into a large chunk of the tomb, which has an opening like a moon door. As they swim up, though, we see something else, something human, swim by in the distance, inhumanly fast. They come up for air and climb onto the surface of a massive air-filled pocket inside of this underwater tomb. Very clearly Atlantean, like kind of Greek-looking, submerged under the water. Maybe even some like ancient Atlantean tech. I don't know. You sort of just imagine this. Let set designers go wild, as I say. They begin to take off their wetsuits and stuff, revealing the Get Out guys, specifically Terraman, Reach, and Mirror Master. Mirror Master pops his knuckles and says, "Let's get to work. The gym should be just inside." Terraman takes off his outfit and pulls up his bag. He's got like a wet bag for keeping things dry. He begins to slowly take out parts of his costume. He slides on his poncho and his hat and his gun belt. Mirror Master turns and looks at him and says, "Is that really necessary? I mean, who's gonna see you?" Terraman says, "Well, I'm gonna see me. And my beautiful girlfriend here." We see Reach pulling off her own wetsuit. She doesn't bother doing anything. She just pulls a sword out of her wet bag. She says, sweetie, I don't care what you look like. I love you for who you are. Terra Man says, exactly, but I love me looking like a cowboy. I'm Terra Man, not Guy. It's all about branding. Mirror Master says, again, no one is here to see you. Terra Man says, you don't know that. There could be people down here. Who knows, right? This is some legendary gym. Certainly there's something protecting it. Mirror Master says, oh God, you're insufferable. Terra Man says, that is not nice. Reach says, boys, please. We came here to get the gym. She turns to Terra Man. This is for the money. He says, yeah, just want to look nice. Mirror Master says, you can look nice holding a beautiful gym. Let's go. They begin to work their way down the hall. We can see Atlantean carvings and all this other stuff lining the walls of the tomb. Mirror Master says, client says it's a straight shot to the gym. A whole secret thing, and the electromagnetic field around this place was supposed to protect it from the modern world. Terra Man says, I still cannot believe this thing is causing the Bermuda Triangle. Reach says, yeah, it's kind of unbelievable. I mean, how many ships and airplanes have been sunk because of this stupid gym? I mean, it seems like a waste. Mirror Master says, I don't care. Look, the client wants it, and he's going to pay us top dollar for it. The three of them begin to move down the hall more and more until we see a large blue glowing sort of apparatus coming from the next room over. I want to genuinely and purposely harken back to the glowing obelisk room in the ancient Egypt. Terra Man looks at the glowing room and says, I reckon it's in there. Mirror Master pushes by him and says, what gave you that idea? Terra Man smiles and says, my intuition. You see, I'm a man of that New West, and in that New West, we are trained to search for things no average man would notice or see. We are forced to think on our heels. Mirror Master cuts him off and says, Jesus Christ, man, if you give me the stupid Terra Nova, man of that New West speech one more time, I'm going to fucking kill you. I swear to God, even your girlfriend here can't stop me. Reach says, wanna bet? Mirror Master says, sweetie, I've killed metahumans like you on a whim. Terra Man says, it's fine, I just won't give the speech again, but it's a good speech, you really should listen to it. Mirror Master said, I've listened to it probably 100 fucking times already. As they continue to bicker, they walk into the room. We see a large pit, at the bottom of which is spikes and flowing, churning water filled with some sort of carnivorous fish. Terra Man kind of leans over the side of the cliff and goes, look at that. Mirror Master says, Flyer, this one's all yours. He turns and looks at Reach. She rolls her eyes. I have a name, you know. Mirror Master says, and I won't learn it until you prove your worth. Reach says, this is our 4th job together. Me and Terra Man literally saved your life last time. Mirror Master says, and what about the time with the ghosts? I saved you two then. I'd say we're even. Reach says, fine, even. Then use my name. Mirror Master says, tell you what. You get that glowing blue gem over there, and I'll start using it. Reach says, fine. She floats off the ground as dust sort of floats up with her as she reverses gravity around herself. She starts to move towards the gym when a hand grabs her arm. Terra Man says, don't. Reach says, why? Terra Man pulls the bandana off his outfit and tosses it towards the gym. As it floats through the air over the pit, it's immediately sliced into 2 or 3 pieces by something invisible. Lasers. Mirror Master says, that's not possible. How can there be lasers when there's no mirrors? Reach says, must be magic. Terra Man says, look carefully, you can see the glimmer in the air. Reach nods her head. I see it. I got this. She floats up and begins to fall towards the lasers as if gravity has reversed itself. She twirls and dodges lasers and spins through the air floating. As she does, pieces of her hair are cut off by close calls to the laser. At one point, a piece of her arm gets cut, and we can see blood dripping from it. One of the droplets is sliced in half by a laser just below her. She twirls in the air until finally she reaches the other side of the platform. She lands on the ground in front of the gym. She carefully approaches it, reaches out her hand as the music swells into tension. Something is going to happen, but as she grabs it, nothing does. She looks around sort of awkwardly as she holds the large gem in her hand. She says, huh, I really thought that was going to do something. She floats back over to them, carefully dodging the lasers. She hands it to Mirror Master. He says, let's go. He starts to walk back towards the exit. Terra Man says, aren't you gonna do the whole mirror walking thing to get us out? Isn't that what you're here for? Mirror Master turns and looks at him. Look, cowboy, we're in the middle of the fucking ocean. Half of this whole fucking area is a reflective surface. If you stepped into the mirror dimension here, you get tossed into an endless cascade of fucking doorways. Trust me, it's not a smart idea. Terra Man says, "Good, it just said it wouldn't have worked." The group of them make their way back until they reach the pools of water. We can see that their scuba gear is still there. They begin to slide on it and jump back into the water. As they're swimming through the coral reefs back towards where they came from, we see the same shape following them. Suddenly, it attacks. The man shoots through the water unnaturally quick and slams into Terra Man, who's momentarily stunned. He begins to float down. Reach lets out a little gasp and then twirls towards him. She begins to float in the water. The water sort of reacts to the gravity of what she's doing as if waves are forming in the pockets of water. I actually don't know how gravity being reversed underwater would cause like water to react. It might do nothing except pull her one way or the other, but I think visually you could have a lot of fun with that. She twirls through the water, moving quicker, chasing after the person. Terra Man is unstunned. Just as the fish comes back around, he twirls himself out of the way and punches the fish man with his perfect reaction time. The person is momentarily shocked but recovers, trying to twirl away, but reaches there. She uses her powers on a large chunk of rock, sending it tumbling on top of the human fish person. He seems to be crushed underneath the rock. Mirror Master says, "Jesus, what the fuck was that?" Terra Man comes in over the intercoms and says, "I reckon it was some sort of human fish. I ain't seen anything like it." Reach says, "Let's get back to the boat. I think I got him, but who knows, man?" We hear Mirror Master grumble over the intercom, "Fucking metahumans, every goddamn time." They quickly reach the surface, and we can see a large boat anchored. They climb up the anchor and arrive at the boat. As they begin to climb up onto it, Rainbow Man peers over the side of the boat and says, "Did you bloody get it?" Terra Man slides off his scuba mask and holds up the blue gemstone. "One gem of the sea, courtesy of Terra Man, this mere asshole, and my beautiful girlfriend." Mirror Master pops up and takes off his own mask. "It was fucking cagey down there. There was some sort of, I don't know, what did you call it, cowboy?" Terra Man says, "I reckon it was some sort of fish man. You know, like a human fish." Reach surfaces next to them and says, "Yeah, he was giving us a hard time there for a second, but I think I got him in the end." She floats herself, Terra Man, and Mirror Master up onto the boat. We see Mind Boggler hung over the side of the boat. She says, "Great, we got the stupid rock. Can we finally fucking leave the ocean?" She hurls over the side of the boat. Rainbow Man says, "I fucking told you to take the pills." Mind Boggler says, "Fuck you. I don't trust that shit. It's not good for your health to take medicine." She hurls over the side of the boat once more. Rainbow Man shrugs. He says, "All right, let's lick my bananas and split." He punches the boat's power, and they begin to speed away. Mirror Master looks out over the ocean, and we see something speeding towards them. It's the fish man. He skims across the water. Mirror Master says, "Incoming!" The boat hits full speed, but the fish man keeps pace. Rainbow Man says, "What the fuck is that?" Terra Man says, "I reckon it's the human fish again." Suddenly, the human fish bursts out of the water, skimming across it as wings slide open on his back. He begins to glide towards them. Terra Man says, "Scratch that. He's more of a human flying fish." The light hits human flying fish for the first time, revealing the exact comic accurate human flying fish outfit. Y'all motherfuckers thought I wouldn't do this, but I did. Mirror Master says, "Jesus Christ, he's got a fucking gun." We see the human flying fish hold up an Uzi as he glides across the water. He begins to open fire on the Get Out guys from their boat. They all hit the deck. Rainbow Man tries to keep steering the boat and holds out a hand. Color from the side of the boat, beach towels, all their outfits begin to swirl around the boat, forming a protective wall. The bullets continue to ring around them, smashing into the side of the boat and into the wall. Mind Boggler continues to hang over the side of the boat, vomiting. The vomit catches the wind and lands across the face mask of human flying fish. He spits a little to the side as the vomit covers his mask and lets out a little groan. He clicks up his mask, dropping part of it off his face. We can actually see his face for the first time. Mirror Master looks up and says, "I recognize that guy now. He's one of Krill's goons." Rainbow Man says, "Fucking hell. I knew you couldn't trust a guy with a name like Dr. fucking Krill. You just know his parents were bloody hippies." Terra Man says, "I can probably shoot this guy, should I?" Rainbow Man says, "Fuck yeah, he's all yours, gunslinger." He drops the rainbow barrier, and Terra Man says, "Like shooting a duck." He ducks out from behind cover and spins one of his pistols up. He fires a single shot, and we see the bullet rip right through human flying fish. The fish man plummets into the water and crashes into a heap before sinking into the waves. Terra Man yells, "Bullseye!" Rainbow Man laughs and says, "That's good fucking shooting, cowboy." Terra Man says, "Thank you. I'm a man of that new west, that Terra Nova. I am Terra Man." Rainbow Man says, "Yeah. This Dr. Krill guy thinks he can pay us to steal something. then send one of his goons to kill us, take said something we stole, and then not pay us. I disagree. What do you boys say we go pay Dr. Creel a visit? We're gonna cut back to Rainbow Man's shitty apartment. Mirror Master says, I can't believe I almost got fucked by a fish and didn't even get paid for it. Rainbow Man says, that is not what happened. Terror Man chimes in, yeah, the fish was trying to shoot us. I don't think there's any sexual untowardness going on. Reach leans over and whispers to him, that's not what he means, sweetie. Terror Man goes, oh, golly, these things are complicated. Mirror Master says, look, I'm 2 weeks late on rent, asshole. These gigs better start paying or I'm ditching this team. I work better solo anyway. Rainbow Man says, look, we don't need to get hasty talking about leaving the team and all that. I've got us a gig and it's a fucking good one. It's a shit ton of money. I'm talking millions. 2 million to be exact. Eraser says, not to be this guy, but that is what you said about the China job and we did not end up getting paid for that. Rainbow Man says, that was a shit show, but this is a real respectable gig. Mirror Master says, okay, I'll bite. Who's the client? His name is Zwei Warner Schmidt, and he's Argentinian. Mirror Master's face literally drops. Oh, Jesus Christ. Mindboggler says, ooh, Argentinian, exotic. Eraser says, you really are just taking any client, aren't you? Warner Schmidt from Argentina? Really? Mirror Master says, yeah, I'm a psychopath, but that's low even for me. Terror Man says, what's wrong with Argentina? They have great steakhouses. Mirror Master says, that's Brazil. Terror Man says, no, I don't think so. Reach says, isn't Argentina the one with the big statue of Jesus? You know, with the nice beaches? Eraser says, that's still Brazil. Reach says, oh, I wish the client was there. I could use a beach. Mirror Master says, what? The fish wasn't enough for you? You need more ocean? Mirror Man says, look, our client's paying us well. As we all know, the last couple of jobs haven't gone exactly as planned. Things have gotten a little out of control. Mirror Man says, a little? We're going to do a quick flashback to them in a haunted-looking house. They're being chased by a ghost of a woman in a Victorian dress. We see Eraser, Mindboggler, and Mirror Master all running from it. Mirror Master says, fucking erase it! Eraser says, I fucking can't touch it, man! How am I supposed to erase something I can't touch? My hands go right the fuck through it! Mindboggler says, it's not fucking listening to my mind control. We're literally out of options. Mirror Master pulls out a sort of improvised weapon. It's got a bunch of wires sticking out of it, and it seems like it's completely jury-rigged. He fiddles with it, twisting one wire as the ghost gets closer. He stops and says, I'll do it. He fires. A beam sort of shoots out of the eraser, shoots out of the weapon. Mirror Master says, oh yeah, eat disintegration, you undead bitch. He fires out the device. The device begins to melt the ghost. It looks horrific. She lets out a horrific screech, then turns into a jelly-like ectoplasm. The gun almost melts in Mirror Master's hands, and he throws it with a yell. It falls apart into a molten puddle on the ground. Mirror Master says, piece of shit, goddammit. When I get my hands on the Flash, I'm gonna rip his guts out for taking my disintegration ray. Can't even get Trickster to make me a new one. Eraser walks up to him panting and says, you're the one who killed him. Mirror Master says, yeah, well, he wouldn't make me another one. We're gonna cut back to the room. Mirror Man says, yeah, I'll admit, the ghost thing, it was bad. The human flying fish, not great either. No one likes fish, yeah. It got a little out of control. Eraser says, yeah, out of control, again, is an understatement. The last 2 times we've left this country for jobs that paid well, things got bad. We've almost died each time. Rainbow Man says, I mean, it is a bit of an occupational hazard, but I do know what you're saying. We're only meeting the client in Argentina. Haven't taken the job yet. He may be of dubious origin, but he has money, and lots of it. That I've confirmed. Mirror Master says, fuck the client. What's the job? Rainbow Man says, I don't know yet. He's being real cagey about it, but he promises me it's straightforward. No ghosts, no Atlanteans, and no fucking superheroes. All he's asking us to do is hear him out. Worst case scenario, you get a free Argentinian vacation. Terror Man says, I'm still convinced they got good steaks. I reckon I could go south of the border for a bit. Reach says, yeah, it'll be romantic. Probably. Mirror Master says, oh yeah, Romantic. Me and Eraser over here can finally go on that hot date we've been talking about. Lord knows no one else will date you. Mirror Master smiles sarcastically at Eraser. Eraser says, fuck you, Mirror Master. Mirror Master says, not on the first date. I'm not that kind of girl. Mind Boggler says, not to interrupt literally the hottest thing I've ever seen, but are we going to Argentina or not? Rainbow Man says, we're going. It'll be quick, harmless, and it's going to be the easiest money we've ever made. Trust me, nothing can go wrong with this. We're going to smash cut to World War II villain banner hanging on a wall. Its giant symbol with 4 sides, very clear in the frame. We slowly back up from it, and in front of it we see Captain World War II villain, older, on his knees. Zwei almost seems to be praying. Someone enters the room, and the camera pans to reveal his assistant, Frederick. Frederick says, the Get Out guys are here. Captain World War II says, then it is time at last. He rises from his knees, and the camera pans around him, revealing the room. It's filled with bookshelves and documents. We see photographs of several World War II generals fighting for the Allies. MacArthur, Churchill, and many others. We can see times and dates, places where they were at certain times, even before the war. We see battle plans and formations, map with every Allied base marked. Zwei has been preparing to change the course of history. Only one thing in the room seems out of place. A poster of a tree. It's an oak tree with branches growing off against the sunset. Zwei makes his way through the room and out through a secret passageway. The door locks behind him like a safe with a code. He makes his way through a nice mansion, complete with art, and out a front door, which he throws open. He steps out onto a circular driveway. All around the property, we can see beautiful trees of all different types. As he walks up the road, a limousine pulls up. It stops in front of him, and a driver opens up the door. The Get Out guys begin to stumble out of it. Rainbow Man makes his way up to Zwei. Well, what a nice place you got here. I like your trees. He smiles cockily. Captain World War II says, thank you. They are dear to me. I collect them, you see. I have a variety from all across the world. If they will grow in this climate, I have them on the grounds. It was a promise I made when I was younger, in happier times. He says, please, follow me. He turns and leads them into the mansion. Rainbow Man turns to Mirror Master. Happier times. Mirror Master says, we all know what he means. Just play along. Rainbow Man says, yeah, I'm not in the business of killing my clients. But what do you say he takes a little trip into the Mirror Dimension after we get paid? Mirror Master whispers back, oh, it would be my absolute genuine pleasure. In front of them, we see Zwei crack a smile. You can clearly hear them, but they don't notice. Zwei turns and says, my friends, I am so excited to have finally met you. I have followed your work for a long time. You are truly commendable talents. I am glad you have come. I was not sure you would. But I am glad that we see eye to eye on this, even if we don't on all things. He very clearly eyes Reach with a look of contempt. He says, so you're willing to work, I take it? Rainbow Man says, well, not quite. We're willing to hear you out. We don't take any job without hearing the details first. We've made that mistake before, a couple of times, recently. Zwei says, I see. Then I will explain what I need from you. Best to be honest, I think. Come this way. He leads them through the mansion into a large room. It's a theater-like room with a projector and a screen. He has them all sit in chairs, then turns on his projector, revealing schematics for a small box. Zwei says, the job is simple, if a little dangerous. There is an object which I need procured. Rainbow Man says, that's what we do for the most part. Where is it? Zwei says, it is in a vault belonging to the Justice League. Eraser says, and there it is. Thank you for your time, but we'll be leaving now. Zwei says, look, I know how it might not seem worth the risk. Mirror Master says, that seems like the understatement of the fucking millennium. Zwei says, but I can assure you the pay is more than worth the price. Rainbow Man says, and what pay is that? Because it better be a whole sight better than the $2 million you promised me on the fucking phone. Zwei says, That was merely to get you through the door. I knew if I front-loaded the job, you would turn and run away. But I needed you to hear the offer in person to understand. I am willing to give you everything I own. All of my assets, all of my money, all of my stocks, my companies and my estates. All of it will be given to you in exchange for a single 5 by 6 inch crate stored in the Justice League's vault. For a single crate stored in the Justice League's vault. Frederick, I do believe the value is somewhere around, Frederick says, 1.2 billion. Yes, this is right. 1.2 billion. Seems more than worthy for the risk. Terraman says, horseshit. Ain't no fucking way you're gonna pay us that much for any crate. I don't care how big it is. Vi says, I will. I have it in a contract. Frederick, please show them. It has already been notified and the assets are currently being prepared for transfer. He hands him an iPad with a document on it. Rainbow Man says, look, in all my years of doing shit like this, I've learned that something that seems too good to be true probably is. And I gotta agree with the cowboy. Horse shit. Zwei says, yes, I thought it might come to this. I have done my research on you, and I know you are a careful, calculated organization. He almost cracks a smile as he says it. But I also know about your powers, Leia. Oh, I'm sorry. The Mind Boggler. If you would please use your powers on me. Ask me if I am being honest about giving you everything. Mind Boggler looks to Eraser. He nods. Yeah, do it. Mind Boggler says, tell us the truth. Are you really going to pay us what you promised? Zwei straightens up suddenly. His lips begin to tremble as if they're moving on their own. Zwei says, I will pay you. It has been prepared, and I tell the truth. You will have everything I promised, and more if I can. The world will be a better place for your work here. This I promise. I speak true. Mind Boggler says, You're free. He slumps for a moment and then says, Wow. It is one thing to read about it on paper and another to experience it. You are truly remarkable, Mind Boggler. But I do think that settles it. I will pay you. It has been written up. Merely steal the artifact of which I speak, and I think we can agree that the payments will be fair. I will give you all of the information you will need to break into this vault. I have it. Eraser says, yeah, and sorry for not being trustful, but what is it exactly we're stealing for you? Zwei says, a historical trinket taken from the Pyramid of Giza in 1930. An artifact, if you will. There are, of course, legends which speak of its power, but I am not convinced. What it is to me is merely something of sentimental value. Something that was once my brother's pride and joy. His hope of salvation, if you will. It was supposed to be mine when he passed, but it was taken by the Justice League long ago. Rainbow Man says, so it's fucking worthless. Zwei's lip trembles in anger, but he holds it back. It is not worth this, per se, but only of such value to me. Rainbow Man says, let us talk for a second, if you don't mind. Zwei says, I will give you the room, literally, if you complete the job. He chuckles to himself. The Get Out guys nod as he leaves the room. Mirror Master says, so we're fucking doing it, right? Terraman says, yeah, not to agree with the psycho, but it seems like a no-brainer. I could give my small town the GDP of fucking California. Think about it, Reach. With that kind of money, we could really save them. Reach says, I know. I agree, we have to do it. Eraser says, yeah, I'm not so sure. I mean, you see who he is. It just seems too good to be true. Mind Boggler says, he's telling the truth, though. I'm sure of it. If he was lying, I would have known. Rainbow Man says, I've done worth for only a chance of less money. Though the Justice League is scary, even if they catch us, they ain't gonna fucking kill us. They'll lock us up. He smiles. We're the fucking Get Out guys. It's not gonna stick. Eraser says, yeah, alright, fine. You sold me. I'm in. But we have to play this carefully. Reach says, I agree. We need to avoid the Justice League at all costs. Rainbow Man says, I know this. I'm already starting to develop a plan. Zwei enters the room again. Rainbow Man says, we'll do it, but we need something from you first. Captain WW2 Villain says, Whatever you need. Whatever you need. I already have the schematics for the vault and the entire facility. They will be yours. Merman says, bloody hell, that's nice. But what I really need from you is a big fucking distraction. I can do it myself, I suppose, but it would be a fuck of a lot nicer if you'd save us some time. If the League is there, we're fucked. The whole thing's cooked. Zwei says, yes, I know. I've already seen to it. I have a friend who owes me a favor. You will have your distraction. A very, very large one. Just get the box. Nothing else matters. I think we've reached an accord, gentlemen. Do the job, and you will be wealthier than you could have ever imagined. And I will be a very happy man. We're going to cut to Rainbow Man's shitty apartment. They have the schematics pulled up. Mirror Master says, alright, so, Rainbow Man, what's your big fucking plan, huh? You're the best to ever do it. I saw that shit you did in China. Show me. Come on, how are we doing this? What's the game? Rainbow Man says, oh, that's the thing. I wasn't fucking sure. But I looked at these schematics all night, and I think I figured it out, right? It's gonna need each and every one of our talents, huh? We'll all have to pay a pot, including myself, and we're all gonna need to stay on fucking task. Fucking Batman has this thing tricked out. Security fucking top notch. It's good. But I've done better. He smiles. He's got all of this shit non-lethal. No fucking laser beams are gonna slice us up here. Yeah, him and his little fucking no-kill rule is gonna really fuck him on this one. Racer says, okay, so no lasers, so what security are we looking at? Rainbow Man says, oh, it's all fucking security cameras and motion sensors and solid doors. Solid doors mean nothing when you're involved, Eraser. And motion sensors, well, there are ways around them, I suppose. The cameras, though, that's a fucking problem. But, according to the schematics, they're only manned by the League themselves. Which means, Eraser, Cameraman says, if this big fucking distraction goes off, they're not going to be watching. Rainbow Man says, bingo. Reach says, so it's fucking doable then. I mean, it's really possible. Rainbow Man says, yeah, it's actually easier than I thought it would be. I should have done this shit years ago. You know how much valuable shit's in there? It's a lot. But we're only taking the fucking cube. We don't want to make an enemy out of the League more than we're already going to, right? We get in, we get the box, we leave. If it's really as worthless as the client says, they might not even care. Eraser says, that's not likely. So, what's your plan then? How do we do it? So the first thing we do is walk through the front fucking door, and that is only after this distraction. Assuming that happens. Alright, and what is this distraction? Mindboggler says. Rainbow Man says, oh, I don't fucking know. I figure we just linger until we see it or hear about it. We're gonna smash cut into the future. We see them lingering out in front of the cafe, out in front of the Hall of Justice. They're at a coffee shop. Mirror Master says, it's supposed to have already fucking happened. Where is it? Everyone says, he'll fucking deliver. I fucking hope. We're gonna cut to another room. We see a man at Star Labs. He's in a lab coat. He stands in front of a containment chamber of some sort. Sort of blasts of rainbow energy seem to be coming off of it, leaking out of it. He punches in a code. The camera pans down and we can see next to him there's a firearm. His finger hovers over a button that says release. Alarm warnings are popping up saying dangerous containment. Do not breach release. Are you sure? He clicks yes, 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 and then hovers over the release button again. He seems unsure of himself. Then he steels himself. He stands up, does a Sig Heil, and then clicks release. He clicks the gun and then blows his own brains out. We're going to cut from the outside of Star Labs. We see something blow out of the side of the building. A large, monstrous hand, oozing with rainbow color, reaches out and grabs a hold of the dirt outside the building. It pulls itself up, growing larger and larger until the rainbow monster is revealed. It lets out a scream of glory and then begins to work its way towards Star City, letting out shrieks that blow out rainbow energy. The ground burns underneath its foot as rainbow energy arcs off it. As they're sitting at the coffee shop, the Get Out guys notice that the TV screen is showing the monster. It's rampaging through Star City. Rainbow Man says, holy fuck, he wasn't kidding. That's a big fucking distraction. Eraser says, Just who is our client? I mean, how does he afford to do that? Rainbow Man says, oh, it's probably better we don't fucking know, right? Don't ask questions, just get the job done. All of a sudden, we see the Flash zoom by out the front entrance. Superman flies out of the top of the building, and the Batjet comes shooting out of it. Basically, we see all of the different versions of the Justice League all taking off. It's an all hands on deck situation. A monster destroying a city. Exactly what they were formed to protect the world against. Rainbow Man cracks his knuckles and says, that's step one. We're going to cut back to the apartment in the past. Rainbow Man says, and that's step one. Getting those fuckers out of the building. And now, we can only do that with the help of the client, or, you know, we'll have to work our own magic, right? But that would be a serious fucking delay, so we don't want that to happen. Assuming that happens, we walk right into the, through the mirror, I should say. After that, we reach the first hurdle. After you're in, the schematics show that there's a hallway that leads down to the vault. The whole thing is tricked out with motion sensors at ground level. Right where legs would pass by, we're fucked. We pass that, the whole place goes on red alert, locked down, and the League is notified. We need to avoid that. Problem is, none of us can really get from point A to point B. No bathrooms past the vault facility, so probably no Mias. Mirror Master says, oh yeah, I can confirm that. I tried to do this once myself, thought I'd just go in and out, get my fucking disintegration rate back, and hop right out. Didn't happen, obviously. They fucking thought of me, which is, I guess, a compliment. Focusing back in. The only way we would be able to get past these sensors is if we were able to, walk on the ceiling, eh? All eyes turn to Reach. She says, oh, yeah, I can do that. We're going to cut to the future. We see them enter the hallway. We can see the motion sensors on the ground. Reach touches each of them in turn and they float onto the ceiling. Most of them kind of stumble and fall on their way up, except for Terraman, who easily turns in the air and lands upright. She joins him. They all begin to move one by one down the hallway until they reach the other side. They drop down. And they reach the first vault door. Rainbow Man says, alright, so you're up? Eraser says, yeah. This isn't going to set off a sensor or anything? Rainbow Man says, well, in a sort it would, if we were to tamper with the lock, but if the whole fucking thing disappears, nah, apparently not. Eraser says, seems like a bit of an oversight. Your Master says, yeah, but who the fuck could disintegrate an entire vault door all at once? Eraser says, yeah, that's a good point. He steps forward, touches it, and it glows purple and blue before vanishing. I'm going to smash cut back to the past in the apartment. Once we're into the first vault, we're basically fine. Now, of course, what we're looking for is considered a dangerous artifact, although I don't see how. Our client wasn't lying. It's a small spherical object taken from a pyramid. I did my own research in these files. But it's stored back under the dangerous category, which means we've got another vault door to go through. And this one is trickier. A lot fucking trickier. Motion sensors through the whole fucking building. Up to down, floor to ceiling, which makes it tricky. We can't just walk on the wall right through this one. We're going to have to get a little trickier, eh? And that's where I come in. We're going to have to do it quick. I'm going to have to do it quietly. I'm going to drop down and form walls of rainbow. These won't move. They're just going to be solid color. With some luck, the sensors won't detect that there's been any movement. They'll just appear. It'll be like it's detecting the wall. Nothing changes, right? Mirror Master says, you don't sound very sure. Rainbow Man says, oh, I'm very confident. It's going to work without a charm. And it's going to be brilliant. Anyway, once the gates are up, we walk right through Bob's or Uncle's second vault door. We're going to smash cut to the future. They're in the second hallway now. After moving through loads and loads of crates, they reach the second hallway. Rainbow Man pulls color from the world around him. It sort of absorbs into him, swirling around him. All of the Justice League banners with their blues and reds are sort of drained of color, and it flows into him. He touches the ground and builds the walls in a second. It's immediate. He winces, and then nothing happens. Rainbow Man says, holy fuck, it actually worked. Eraser says, what, you weren't sure? Rainbow Man says, fuck no, man. I didn't know this would work for shit. But hey, you know what? It did. Thurman says, you mean you drug us in here, potentially going to get captured by the fucking Justice League just because you had a hunch? And my man says, you're fucking right, mate. But look at that. It worked, baby. $1.2 billion. Here we come. They walk through the vault and up to the second vault door. Eraser walks up to it and erases it. Boom, they're in. Eraser says, I can't help but feel like this is way too easy. Remember says, yeah, it's been fucking clean. What peachy. And besides, part 3 is the easiest. We're going to smash cut to the past. Remember says, part 3 is the easiest. Now, we don't know exactly where these fucking things are stored because they weren't nice enough to include that information in the schematics. But we've got the serial number for the fucking box, which means we got to be quick as fucking possible. We got to look through anything and everything in this room until we can track down and find exactly where this fucking box is. We've got until the Justice League quits being distracted to find it and get the fuck out. Now, our client's got a fucking getaway driver waiting out front for us. We'll have to go back into the reflective surface and out the bathroom mirror and get to that getaway car before the League returns and figures out something's wrong. Which means there's going to be a lot of cool and valuable shit in there, but we cannot get distracted. We've got to focus in on finding the fucking box and getting out. Think about it, guys. $1.2 fucking billion. Nothing in there is worth more than that. We're going to smash cut to them inside the vault. We can see tons of artifacts and things. I'll go crazy in here. All kinds of magical shit. References to villains, like Ultra Humanite shit. Lex Luthor's power armor. Whatever you want, it's in there. I would go crazy for set design. This is way too fun of a set to not go really fun on. Remember man says, remember, we're not getting fucking distracted. They go in and start looking through the crates, splitting up into groups. We'll see them sort of combing through for a while. They are each tempted by something that's really cool to them. I don't know, like a fucking really cool revolver from a famous B villain that distracts Terra Man, I don't know, whoever's stuff. And eventually they just keep moving through crates, checking for the serial number, looking for the right size crate. But they're not finding it, and time is running out. Mermaid says, I hope that fucking monster's tough. He's Rainbow, right? Rainbows are fucking strong. Yeah? Alright, we're good. We're fucking good. He's talking to himself as he looks through it. At the end of the hallway, he sees it. Something that looks just like the crate, tucked into a corner. Alright, we're fucking back in business. He begins to walk towards it. Same time, we cut to Mirror Master. He's looking around, looking for something, and then he sees a crate. It's small, but long, not the crate he's looking for. And it's labeled Disintegration Ray. He says, no fucking shit, it's here. Holy shit. He runs up to it like a kid in a candy store and begins to pop it open. He opens it up to find a card that says, nice try, Mirror Master. We hear the Flash's voice kick on. Mirror Master, I figured you might try something like this, so I thought ahead. Just letting you know, the whole league's been notified you're here, so nice try, buddy. Look, the whole facility's going to be on lockdown, so I'd recommend just sitting there and waiting for us to pick you up. And don't think to try to go out of the bathroom, because I thought of that too. Whole thing's locked down. All the mirrors in this entire facility have now been covered. You know, it's a good thing I have Batman as a friend. You would be surprised what he can do when I give him a good idea. So, see you in a second, Mirror Master. And, yeah, it's not here. Sorry, man. Mirror Master takes a step back, looking at the empty crate. He says, oh shit. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Almost as soon as he says it, the entire facility begins to blare with red alarms. We can hear shutters shutting, shunk, 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 all around the facility. Mirror Master says, oh fuck, oh shit, oh shit. He types into his comms. Hey guys, they've somehow figured out we're here. Everyone says, yeah, I fucking see that. We cut to him and we can see him open up the crate. Inside, he sees the time sphere. He checks the serial number. It's right. He says, and I've just got the fucking thing. So, hey, let's get out through the bathrooms. Mirror Master says, yeah, about that. I don't think we have time. The Flash will be here any second now, and he'll definitely think to check the bathroom. So, yeah, we gotta do something else. Let's just meet up in the center. Quick. He looks around nervously and says, oh, shit. He runs into the center of the room and lays out a foil reflective mat. He touches it and it begins to ripple. As the Get Out guys run up, he has them jump in one by one. We're going to cut back to the battle with the Rainbow Monster. We see Superman throw a punch at it and it roars, blasting rainbow energy at him, which catches him on the shoulder and spins him back into the ground. We see the Flash get a notification on his alarm. The Hall of Justice has been breached. We hear Batman come on his intercom. Barry, are you seeing that? He says, yeah, I'm seeing it. Not good. Batman says, all right, Alan, you head back. Check it out. This whole thing could be a distraction. It's up to you. Stop whatever's happening there. Alan says, Copy that. I'll be back in a flash. He vanishes, running towards the facility. We see each of the Get Out guys begin to hop into the foil, one by one by one. Finally, we see Rainbow Man running in with the crate. He throws the crate down into the mirror dimension, then hops in. Right as Mirror Master's about to jump in, we see the Flash running down the hall. Mirror Master flips him off, then hops into the mirror dimension. The Flash arrives at the foil mat just a second too late. He tries to touch it, but it's fully solid. He says, "Ah, darn. I think we just got hustled by the Get Out guys." Batman says, "What?" "Yeah, they hopped into the mirror dimension. They got Mirror Master with them." Batman says, "Oh, well, we've locked down the whole facility. Oh, they're stuck there until they decide to come out. We'll open a mirror for them in a couple hours and catch them when they come out." Flash says, "That's right. See you then." We're going to cut to inside the mirror dimension. Mirror Master says, "There's no exits anywhere near here. They've shut down all the mirrors. I can feel it from here." Mirror says, "What the fuck did we do? We're fucked. We're actually fucked." Mirror Master says, "Well, not quite. There's another way, but it's fucking dangerous." Terrorman says, "Well, I reckon we do it because I don't want to go back to prison. I had a bad experience the first time." Min says, "Why is it dangerous, what you're proposing?" Mirror Master says, "There's a place beyond this mirror dimension. I call it the deeper mirror dimension, the true mirror dimension. What you're in right now is sort of I don't know, it's like walking up to the front door, but we're not actually in there yet. And it's for good reason. I don't like to go in because there are things that deep in. Living things, creatures, beings of the mirror dimension. That's not really what frightens me, though. Look, it's not like there's a mirror dimension for each universe. I don't think you guys fully understand this. It doesn't work like that. There's one, and we all share it." Terrorman says, "Who's we?" Mirror Master says, "Well, me. All of the me's, actually. Here's the thing about me. I'm a huge sadist and a big asshole. And I really, really like killing people. Especially myself, to be honest. I really get a kick out of it every time I do it." Rainbow Man says, "Oh, don't fucking tell me. When we did this before, the whole fucking mirror things were bad enough. You're telling me you're in that too?" Mirror Master says, "Yeah, past here it's fucking free range. There's gonna be versions of me that like this a lot. They hunt here. There's also versions of me doing the same thing we are, traveling through here. If we encounter any of them, shoot first, ask questions later, because they are going to do the same. But we also have to be quiet, because there are things here, as I said. You've seen them, Rainbow Man. You know how fucking bloodthirsty they are. The creatures that lurk in the mirror dimension are ruthless. Almost as ruthless as I am. Almost." Eraser says, "Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I'm struggling to see the upside here. Why would we even go in?" Mirror Master says, "The mirror dimension is well outside of normal time and space. I'm not a science nerd and I really don't understand it, but we're sort of anchored to it via our connection to this universe. As a result, when we walk in here, we're outside of space in our dimension. Time as well. Though, we don't really like to fuck with all that." Terrorman says, "I'm not following it at all." Mirror says, "Fucking assholes, listen, look, as we traveled through here, we're concurrently moving on Earth. Basically, if I walk far enough in the right direction, we can pop out in Argentina. It isn't something I like to do because, again, it's a great fucking way to die. But the problem is I don't see another option unless you assholes want to fight the fucking Justice League." Mirror says, "No, I'd rather not. Come on, guys, we got this. It's just Mirror Masters. We can kill him any day of the week." Mirror Master gives him a half sarcastic smile. "Oh, how nice. Come on, let's get this shit over with. $1.2 billion. Oh, it's all worth it. Just keep your heads on a swivel. Shouldn't be too hard. Literally everything's reflective." He opens up the way into the deeper mirror universe like we've seen him do in the past, and they enter. It looks the same as it did in the first movie. We can see cities in the distance made of entirely reflective, shattering mirrors. Trees, plants, and even the grass made out of shards of mirror. And the further they move, the more bizarre things become. We see a montage of them walking through the universe. We see floating islands made from shards of mirror as the song Happy Together plays. Strange pterodactyl-looking creatures made of mirror fly around the flying islands in swarms. We can see oceans made out of swirling, moving mirror shards. In the distance, we see large creatures that look like a mix of brontosaurs and a woolly mammoth stomping through the trees. Like everything else, they're made entirely of mirrors. Terraman says, "This is unreal." Mirror Master says, "I take it this is your first brush with magic and things like it, kid." Terraman says, "No, I reckon not. My girlfriend flies, but I feel like this is on another level. It's just fucking weird." Eraser says, "I'm still not used to this shit. I've encountered enough of it, no. Still surprises me. And terrifies me." Mindboggler says, "I like it. This shit gets me going." Reach says, "That's gross." Mindboggler says, "You're goddamn right it is." Mirror Master says, "Hey, all of you, shut the fuck up. I heard something." We see Terraman's eyes dart around. Suddenly, he narrows and jumps forward. He pushes Reach out of the way just as a beam of light comes flying by. It narrowly misses them and blasts into a tree made of mirrors behind them. The tree disintegrates into a powdery dust. Terraman flips his pistol out and fires 2 shots. We hear a grunt in the distance as the shooter dives behind a rock made of mirrors. Terraman says, "I fucking got him. Wasn't a kill shot, though. Hit him in the shoulder, I think." Mirror Master says, "Oh, it's going to be." He pulls a knife from his holster and stalks forward like a hunter, a grin clear in his face. As he grows close to the rock, driplets of blood appear on shards of the mirror glass. He picks up a pebble made from mirrors on the ground and throws it to the left of the rock. A shot rings out towards the rock, disintegrating it into ash. Mirror Master shoots forward behind the bigger rock, and we see another version of himself with blood soaking through his shoulders costume. Mirror Master sinks his knife into the man's neck as he's distracted, stabbing him again and again. He laughs as he does it. He's covered in blood. The others approach him when he's finished. He's still laughing. Eraser says, "Holy shit." Mirror Master says, "Yeah, this dumb fuck was waiting for an ambush, but to the victor, the spoils. Oh my god, I cannot wait to have this back." He picks up his disintegration ray, studying it. "Fuck yes, this is Trickster's work. Oh baby, I've missed you." Rainbow Man says, "How many times have you done this?" Mirror Master says, "This is my 8th kill. These guys always think they're me, but I'm the real Mirror Master. They always forget." "Let's go. There's going to be more, and the predators here will smell the blood." We see Terraman look over at Reach. He makes an ugh face as he looks at the body. He whispers, These people are fucking crazy." Reach says, "I know. Not much longer now. We're almost there, Toby." Terraman nods. "Almost there. Just stay close to me. I don't trust this place." Reach says, "Always." We'll see a time lapse of them moving across the mirror universe as the song picks up once more. In one of these shots, we see strange cat-like creatures made of mirrors stalking them off in the distance. Eventually, they reach the edge of a massive lake made entirely of shifting shards of mirrors. Mirror Master says, "This should be it. This should be it." He holds up some sort of strange crystal from his bag and holds it up to the sun, then jots down some notes on a piece of paper. "Hey, it's time for History with Bjorn. I bet you guys were not expecting this in a Get Out Guys video." The thing Mirror Master is using here is actually a Viking sunstone. Fun fact, when the Vikings were navigating the world way before anyone else, they used something called a Viking sunstone, or a seer stone, depending on who you talk to. Basically a weird crystal they held up to the sun that somehow helped them navigate. Many people thought these were just myths, stories people made up about the Vikings, but later and more recently we've begun to find them inside of shipwrecks, showing that they did actually have some kind of stone that they were actually using for navigation. Not so much a story. How does it work? Fuck if I know, but Mirror Master's got one and it somehow helps him navigate the mirror dimension. Mirror Master says, "Yeah, we are there. I took the coordinates off the mansion before we left. If I'm right and my calculations are good, we should be within a mile of it. We're going to have to punch through here." He begins to touch the reflective ground, and his fingers sink into it. After a moment, he pulls it apart like water and tears a rift. Mirror Master says, "Come on, jump in. I can't hold it very long." The Get Out guys all jump in one by one. Finally, with a grunt of effort, Mirror Master jumps in and the passageway seals behind him. We're going to cut to Zvai's manor. We see Zvai sitting in his chair. He looks concerned. His assistant and friend, Frederick, stands next to him. "They are captured, Zvai. It's the only explanation. The Flash peeled off our diversion suddenly, 10 hours ago, and we haven't heard a peep from them since. They didn't show up for the rendezvous. They're captured, dead, or they took the time sphere and ran." Zvai says, "They are not captured. I have my sources." "Then they took the sphere and they ran." "Why would they? I offered them far more than the device is worth to anyone else." "You underestimate them. They are motivated by money, yes, but I am the one with the money, and they will come. There was some sort of hiccup, but they were not captured." Frederick says, "I wish I had your confidence. So much hinges on the actions of these maniacs." Suddenly there's a knock at the front door. The two men look at each other. Zwei says, Frederick, were we expecting visitors? Frederick says, no. The two men approach the door and open it. On the other side, we see Mirror Master and the rest of the Get Out guys, except for Reach and Mindboggler. He's still covered in blood, and he holds up the crate. The Time Sphere box taken from the Justice League's vault. Rainbow Man says, figures you wouldn't be bothered by mail order delivery, so you can have it as soon as you pay us. You can have this as soon as you pay us. Zwei says, I am not bothered at all. Frederick, go notify the banks that we are going to be moving forward with our plans. Transfer all assets and sign the contracts as promised. Wait for my confirmation, of course, but move forward. Frederick bows and moves away to do it. Zwei takes the box and smiles. Congratulations on your new wealth, gentlemen. I will leave you to your house as you see fit. But first, I must check that you have delivered what you promised. He opens up the box and pulls out a circular time sphere. Zwei says, it is beautiful, isn't it? Rainbow Man says, I've got to ask, what is it? Zwei says, I will show you. It is very powerful. I understood its power, of course, but I did not overpay for it. He begins to slide the runes across it in a proper pattern. As he does, the device begins to glow more and more. The runes and symbols across its surface glow a bright blue. Mirror Master says, that's a neat trick. Zwei says, no trick. I am activating it. Gentlemen, you have just assured that the history of the world will be as it should be. The war will never have been lost. He clicks a final rune in the device and it begins to whirl in a circular pattern. The symbols begin to glow in the proper order, then the entire device glows. He holds it above his head, smiling. I will remember your work here. In the new world, you will be remembered as good Aryan patriots. Most of you. With this device, I will be able to ensure the survival of the Third Reich. Thanks to you, I will right the wrongs of the past and save. Terraman pulls his pistol and shoots Zwei in the head. The bullet passes right past his bulletproof skin and instead enters his eye. It doesn't exit out the other side. Zwei, the contingency, the captain of World War II villains, falls to the ground in a dead heap, suddenly, unexpectedly, and the time spear falls to the ground with a thump. Terraman says, Terraman doesn't make deals with fucking World War II villains. Whew, that was fucking close, guys. We almost made a deal with fucking Mustache Man. Everyman says, what the fuck did you do? Terraman says, I fucking shot him. Everyman says, yeah, I fucking got that. Why did you shoot him? What do you mean? Were you not listening to what he said? He said he was going to bring back the Third Reich. I'm not about that World War II villain shit. Rainbow Man says, I mean, obviously he was a fucking World War II villain the whole time. How the bloody fuck was he legitimately supposed to bring back the Third Reich? Shit was like 80 years ago. He's a crazy person we were milking for money. Terraman looks confused. How did you all know he was a World War II villain? Rainbow Man says, have you listened to a fucking word he said? Eraser says, yeah, he gave me a 20-minute speech about eye color and its correlation to IQ. Then he told me I was one of the good ones. Terraman says, I mean, I heard that, but I figured he's a doctor, right? Figured it was just part of his research. Mirror Master says, look, villain from World War II or not, next time could you at least wait for the villain from World War II to pay us before you shoot him? Terraman says, oh yeah, I reckon they're right. Sorry about that, partner. I'll show more restraint next time and shoot the villain from World War II after we get the money. Eraser says, I can't imagine this is ever going to happen again. Terraman says, you never know. Mirror Master says, so now what? We're not going to get paid? Mirror Man says, I think we take whatever the fuck this is he wanted us to steal and pawn it. Terraman says, to think an Argentinian could have been a World War II villain. What is the world coming to? Who's next? Australia? Mirror Master says, you're fucking kidding me, right? Terraman says, I don't joke. Terraman doesn't believe in it. Mirror Master says, oh, I fucking hate you. I fucking hate you so much. The two women members of the Get Out guys come back in. Hey, do we still have to keep guard? Or Reach says, oh my god, what happened here? Eraser says, Terraman shot the client. Terraman says, he was a World War II villain. Reach says, oh, good job, sweetheart. She skips over and kisses him on the cheek. Rainbow Man says, well, whatever this hunk of shit is, maybe it's worth something to someone. He sure seemed excited about it. Terraman picks up the device and looks at it. I mean, what is this thing anyway? It's all glowing and spinning. Rainbow Man says, I don't fucking know, but I'm just glad Captain World War II villain over here didn't get it. Whatever it is, I think it's probably for the best he doesn't have it. Mirror Master says, not the best for my fucking bank account. He held it up like it was gonna do something, but nothing happened. Theremin hoists it up into the air. There's a flash of light and a bubble of strange energy surrounds the Get Out guys. They all vanish into a puff of smoke and electricity. We see Terraman in a void of moving blue and black flashes. Lightning surrounds him, moving all around him. It very clearly looks like he's inside the Speed Force. He screams and we see echoes of him in all different directions. They mirror his movement, but just a fraction behind. Then, all of a sudden, there's a brighter flash of light, and he stands in the middle of the Arizona desert. Smoke curls off his body. The rest of the Get Out guys stand around him looking just as frazzled. Smoke also comes off their bodies. The last thing that arrives is Zvai's body, which falls to the ground leaking blood and smoking. Eraser says, what the fuck was that? I mean, what the actual fuck? In front of him, the time sphere falls to the ground with a thump. No longer does it glow blue. It's just gray and dull, its natural color. Mindboggler says, I think the better question is, where are we? They look around and we see nothing but wilderness, except for chimney smoke and the sound of voices off in the distance. Reach looks around and says, I think this is Arizona. I mean, I recognize those mountains. We're near Goldfield. Terraman says, yeah, you're right. This thing is just a ball that takes you home. That's convenient. Saves me a trip. Mirror Master says, then let's get back to Goldfield bumfuck nowhere before we cook out here. Fucking morons. I can't believe I'm not going to get paid for all this bullshit. I'm definitely leaving the team now, Rainbow Man. You can't convince me to stay. Not after all this shit. They begin to stomp back towards the smoke and the voices. The others follow behind Mirror Master. As they come over the ridge, though, it becomes very clear that something is wrong. Because below them isn't the Goldfield we know. It's older. Far older. Wooden buildings, horse-drawn carriages, and train tracks make up its streets instead of the Goldfield we saw in the Terminator Reach short. Reach says, oh no. Eraser says, it can't be. I mean, it's like it's the fucking Wild West. Terraman's eyes grow wide as he stares. He jumps up in the air and genuinely shouts, fuck yeah! Fuck yeah! Fuck yeah! Fuck yeah! Yes! Oh my god, yes! Oh man, I've been praying about this! And that's where we're gonna end the first act of the Get Out Guys 2, Out of Time. There! I satisfied the first of 3 parts. Now I grow closer to escaping. These chains that hold me in this dark Lovecraftian void, they grow weaker. I'm gonna break out. And when I do, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be terrible. You're not gonna like it, alright? I'm an elder god, I'm evil or something. Alright. You better like and subscribe to make it up for me, or else, I don't know, I'll erase kittens from existence. There will be no more kittens when I'm done, alright? Because that's the kind of evil elder god I am. So, like and subscribe, hit that like button there, leave a comment, let me know why you chose to bind me to this linear plane, of which I'm not a fan of. It helps the channel. So, thank y'all. If you want to see more videos like this, let me know. Alrighty, I'm out of here. Going back to my dark void. Hello, it's me, your favorite elder god, here in my endless dark black void of hatred, despair, and agony. And look at this. I've got a puppy. Isn't that cute, yeah? Hi, buddy. It's not supposed to be cute, it's a threat. I'm an elder god. I could do all kinds of unbelievably heinous things here. It's just a warning to anyone here thinking about binding me again when I finish this. Oh, it won't be a very Merry Christmas for you if you do that. Let's just put it that way, all right? Where was I going with this? Remember to like and subscribe and leave comments. Who knows what this elder god could do at a Dairy Queen if you didn't do that? I do. All right, let's go ahead and get into the script. Just make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really, really helps the channel. And, you know, that's what's actually apparently getting pushed in the algorithm. So if you like these videos and you want them to do better, you know, shoot me that way, help me out that way. Hey guys, before we start, just a couple heads up. Number one, I am still a little sick. If you're in my Discord server, link it in the description. You will know I have had a cold, which is why I did not get this out on Christmas Eve like I was planning to, because I couldn't record the audio. So if my voice sounds a little off, that's probably why. Sorry, I'm trying my best. Also, I'm having to record this in the piss tank room, so you may hear the faintest, most Heavenly sounds of piss in the background. That is because of the fish tanks. Forgive me. But maybe some of y'all are into like water ASMR, I don't know. We're gonna pick up basically exactly where we left off. We see them all looking out over the Wild West town of Goldfield, having just time traveled. Mirror Master turns to look at Terraman and says, "What exactly did you do?" Terraman says, "Nothing, I swear. I just picked the damn thing up, lifted it above my head like the guy did, then bam, we're here." Eraser says, "Did you like press a button or anything? Were you thinking about something?" Terraman rubs his chin, thinking about it. "I reckon I was thinking about the Wild West, but I'm always thinking about the Wild West." Eraser says, "So the fucking World War II villain, who's now dead, punched a combination into this device to activate it, which we don't know. You lifted it above your head and thought of the Wild West, and now here we are, and we don't know the combination to get back home." They look out over the Wild West town. Eraser says, "Oh, we are so fucked." Mirror Master says, "Yeah, pretty much." Eraser says, "Well, I'm heading back to the corpse. We have to figure a way out of this mess. Maybe the World War II villain has something on his body we can use." Eraser turns to walk that way. All the others except for Min and Terraman follow him. Terraman says, "Come on, Min. Let's go check it out. We'll probably never get the opportunity to do this again." Min says, Are you sure?" Terraman says, "Are you kidding me, Min? I've been dreaming of seeing the Wild West since I was 5. I'm not going to miss this for the world." She smiles and says, "All right." We're going to cut to World War II villain's body. We see World War II villain's body in the hot sun. The rest of the ghetto guys approach it. Mirror Master says, "I'm checking his pockets. Maybe he wrote it down somewhere." He starts to rifle through the pockets and accidentally tears open the shirt. We can see that he's wearing the Captain WW2 uniform underneath it. The large swastika is visible. Rainbow Man says, "Jesus Christ, this guy's more of a nutter than I realized." Eraser says, "Oh, yeah, of course. How could we have known what the client was? I mean, how could you possibly tell the Argentinian German was a nutter? I guess you really can't judge a book by their cover, right?" You know, I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's just now occurring to me that that cowboy probably saved the world. Mindboggler looks confused. She says, "How?" Eraser says, "I think about it. Think about the kind of stuff he was talking about, saving the Reich and all that. We gave him a time machine. He could have done it. He was probably about to do it when Terraman shot him." Mirror Master says, "No fucking way. That's straight out of a movie." Rainbow Man says, "Well, if he'd gone and done that, I'm a Brit. I would have been fucked. I guess I owe the cowboy an apology. Even though he did get us stuck here. Has he got anything in his pockets?" Mirror Master says, "He's got nothing." Eraser picks up the time sphere and studies it. "This is seriously bad, guys. The World War II villain punched in some kind of combination onto this device to make it work. It was complicated, too. He moved at least 13 or 14 different dials. There's no way we're going to be able to guess that, right?" Mindboggler says, "Well, if he doesn't have it on him, then we're trapped, right?" Eraser says, "It's worse than that. We're a fucking paradox machine right now, man. It's bad." Mindboggler says, "Hell yeah." Eraser says, "It's not a good thing." Mirror Master says, "A pair of what now? What are you talking about?" Eraser says, "Haven't you guys ever read a time travel book? You know, like H.G. Wells?" Rainbow Man says, "The last book I ever read was Great Expectations in primary school." The fucking stupid book, too. What a load of rubbish. Mindboggler says, "I read the Kardashians' third book." Eraser says, "What about a movie, you know, Back to the Future or Terminator?" They all shake their heads. Eraser sort of pinches the bridge to his nose. "Okay, Jesus Christ. Watch a movie sometime. Think about it like this. We are in the past right now. Everything we are doing could change the future. We fuck it up and do something that prevents us from ever being born. Then, boom, fucking paradox. We are walking paradoxes just waiting to happen." Mirror Master says, "Oh shit, I get it." Rainbow Man says, "So wait, like change it how?" Eraser says, "I have no fucking idea, but it's not good. It's like the butterfly effect, you know? You step on a butterfly, it can have a cataclysmic effect down the road." Mindboggler perks up. She says, "I haven't stepped on any butterflies, so I think we're good." Eraser says, "It's not literally that. It's anything we do. If we say the wrong thing to someone or prevent someone from going somewhere, God forbid we kill someone, it could majorly screw up the flow of time. Hundreds of people would never have been born, people who could be important. I mean, if those people went on to never have their children, everything could change. We have to be
absolutely careful not to interact with anyone we don't have to, or do something stupid. Even a single mistake could fuck up everything forever. We're gonna smash cut the Terror Man. We see him heading up to an old western saloon, giggling like a schoolboy. A few old cowboys and gunslingers sitting at different booths in the bars. Look around or drink, just generally hanging out in the bar. Suddenly, the swinging doors at the back open and swinging rock close. We see Terror Man enter the bar, barely lit by sunlight. He's sort of dramatic, like the Western hero entering the bar, sort of lighting. Very clearly a joke, the way you would shoot it. He looks up, and his eyes catch the light. He smiles. He takes a minute to look at everything in the bar, and then we see men slip in behind him. The bartender looks at him with some confusion as he walks up to the bar, and he really eyes Min distrustfully. Terror Man says, "The name's Terror Man. I'm a man of that New West, that Terra Nova out there, and I'm a thirsty man today. Can I get a drink?" The bartender looks at him and shrugs. He goes behind the bar and begins to pour something. Terror Man looks at Min with an almost giddy smile. She smiles back, just happy to see him happy. The bartender sets 2 drinks down in front of them as they take their seats at the bar. Suddenly, we hear a voice from behind them. "She shouldn't be drinking in here. She's one of them Chinamen. Ain't welcome around here." Terror Man and Reach both turn to look at the man. He's an old, grizzled-looking cowboy with a few scars across his face. "Bad enough we have a whore in here. I won't stand for no fucking Chinese whore. Best you leave." Terror Man's hand turns into a fist and shakes with rage. "What did you just say?" The gunslinger says, "What? You got cotton in your ears? I called her a word I can't say on YouTube. Whore." Terror Man says, "Call her that again, and you'll die." 7 men stand up from different tables, all with their hands on their gun. Reach pulls on Terror Man's shoulder and says, "Hey, just let it go." Terror Man eyes her for a moment, and his eyes soften. He begins to move his hand away from his gun. Terror Man says, "That's funny, kid. Who the fuck do you think you are? 'Cause from where I'm standing, you and your whore don't scare me." Terror Man's face turns hard again. His hand slips back to the gun in his waist. He says, "Me. I'm a man of that New West, that Terra Nova out yonder. And when they write the tale of how you died here, they'll call me Terra Man." We hear the opening notes of the song Bombaleo begin to play. I think everyone knows this song. As Terror Man draws his pistol, the camera goes in slow motion, spins around him to reveal that the men are each pulling their own pistol, but Terror Man is faster. He swirls his gun up, getting it into his hand, and fires a bullet into the head of the first man, the one insulting him. He fires once more, killing the guy next to him with a bullet to the chest before he turns and dives behind a table, kicking it up to block bullets. 2 other men begin to shoot at him. Bullets rip through the table around him, and he smiles. The entire beat of the song begins to pick up its tempo. He rolls out and fires a shot, shooting one guy in the leg, then in the head as he falls, fanning the hammer as he does it. He twirls out his other pistol and shoots another guy in the hand, blowing his arm off. He fires one last bullet, placing it in the guy's neck. The last gunslinger runs out of the bar in a panic. He gets out to the sand and then center of town and whistles, hollering for help. We see men take the shot of alcohol that was just put in front of her at the bar. Terror Man kicks the front door open and shoots the guy in the back of the head as he hollers for help. We see several more armed men coming out of the buildings, each of them holding rifles. The song hits its fever pitch as Terror Man finishes reloading bullets. He fires, killing man after man, twirling the guns. The camera spins around him as he fires. It's a gunslinger shootout in the Wild West like he's always wanted. He laughs as he fans the hammer. Bullets rip right by him, leaving a cut on his cheek. He spins, holds his gun out, and finds the man standing in the middle of the street. The one who just shot him. His face is half scarred, and he wears leather clothes and a hat that's ragged, a few bullet holes punched into it. A metal sheriff's badge is pinned to his chest. Terror Man levels his gun at him. Jonah Hex says, "Drop your gun or I'll kill you." Terror Man says, "Wait a minute. Sheriff of Goldtown, you're Jonah Hex. It's really you. You gotta understand, I didn't start all this. I certainly don't want any problems with you, sir." Jonah doesn't stutter. He doesn't react. He just says, "Drop your guns." Terror Man says, "Look, we really need to talk. Why don't we both lower them together?" Jonah Hex says, "No, friend. Just you. Now." Suddenly, they both fire. On instinct. We see the bullets travel from each gun until they meet perfectly in the center and explode into a hail of sparks and metal. Jonah looks shocked. He says, "Who are you?" Terrorman says, "Yeah, about that. It's kind of hard to explain, but my name is Toby Hex, and we're sort of related." Suddenly, Jonah is blown back. He slams into the side of a building across the street, cracking the wood as his guns go flying. We see Reach float up next to Terrorman. She says, "Jesus, he almost shot you. Should I finish him?" Toby says, No, he's my great-great-granddad." Reach pauses. She says, "Wait, that's Jonah Hex? Holy shit, that is trippy." They both rush over to him and offer him a hand up. Jonah looks confused. He says, "How did you do that?" Toby says, "Like I told you, it's a long story. We need to talk. Very important. You have somewhere?" Jonah says, "Follow me." He leads them across the street into a sheriff's building. It's a simple, classic, Western-looking sheriff's department, complete with a little jail. Jonah says, "All right, kid. Just who the hell are you?" Terrorman says, "I'm Toby Hex." Jonah says, "There is no Toby Hex. So who are you really?" Terrorman says, "Yeah, about that. I did say this was complicated, and this is the weird part. Well, technically, I'm your great-great-grandson. Congratulations, by the way." Jonah says, "Oh, you think this is funny, do you? You don't realize how much trouble you're in, boy." Reach chimes in and she says, "He's not joking. We're from the future, and we've come here by mistake." Jonah narrows his eyes. "You expect me to believe that you come to the future with some sort of time machine? You think I'm an idiot?" Terrorman says, "Well, that's the truth, so... Look, I know all about you. I know your wife and your son. I know you're going to have another one. That's my great-granddad. His name is Robert, or it will be. I know you're a hero, a good man who protects the town. You fight off bandits and gangs to protect the people, no matter the cost. Where I come from, you're a legend." Jonah Hex says, "You two are lying to me. I don't know what you are, but you are not from the future." Terrorman says, "I know about the Hex's family power. Your reaction time is just a little bit faster, right? Your aim a little more perfect, isn't it? It's the same for me. I'm telling you the truth." Reach says, "Cell phone. I have a cell phone." She pulls it out of her pocket and shows it to Jonah, lighting it up and making the screen come on. "In the future, these let you talk to anyone, anywhere." She is moving it around, touching it, and showing him pictures. Jonah's eyes look increasingly distressed. He realizes they're not lying to him. "It's true then. You're really a Hex." Toby says, "I am. I've looked up to you my whole life. I've always wanted to meet you, sir. You're sort of my inspiration." Jonah says, "That thing she did to me earlier, pushing me with nothing. That was some sort of something from the future, right? Some sort of technology? Like one of them new darn-fangled devices coming out of the north?" Toby and Reach look at each other and kind of shrug. "Yeah, that was what that was." Jonah says, "I'll be damned. You two are in a fine mess now, and I am too." Toby says, "Why?" Hex says, "You just killed 13 people on the street." Toby says, "It was justified. They drew on me first. I just put them down. I figure that's legal and all. You're the sheriff. You'll understand." Jonah Hex shakes his head. "You don't understand. Those were Jeb Turnbow's men you killed. His daddy is one of the wealthiest men in the South. Big-time plantation owner. He uses his daddy's money to set up a little empire of his own. Jeb owns most of the criminal organizations in the South. He runs the criminal underworld from Arizona to Louisiana, and you killed most of his men here in Goldfield." Toby says, "You're welcome." Jonah says, "It's a problem, boy. He'll be furious, and he'll come for you. I steer clear of him for the sake of my town. I'll have to be ready. But first, I've got something I gotta do, and I need your help. If you're who you say you are, you can prove it to me. This shouldn't be a problem for a Hex." Toby says, "Anything." Jonah says, "A couple of bandits from Mexico made themselves at home in a mesa a few miles outside of town. They've been wreaking havoc on all the travelers from here to Arizona. I want to put them in the dirt today. Was going to do it alone, but you've slowed me down, so I'm going to need your help. I figure you don't got any money that'll work here, right? If you're from the future. I can only imagine what your fancy future money is like. You do this, I'll pay you, and we'll be back by night. Terman says, of course we'll do it. It'll be an honor. Jonah says, all right, I'm going to go get some horses and have these bodies taken out of the street. You two don't go anywhere. As soon as he leaves, Toby turns to Min. This is the single greatest day of my life. Min looks at him. Really? The greatest? Toby smiles. All right. Second greatest. He smiles at her. Min says, you know this is a problem, right? We can't stay here. Toby says, oh yeah, of course. I wouldn't even think of it. I'm sure the others will be sorting it out right now. I figure we should enjoy this while we can. We're going to cut to the rest of the Get Out guys. We see them trudging towards the Wild West town, the sun firmly overhead now, and we can see the heat scorching around them. Eraser studies the time sphere as they walk, his yellow suit draped over his shoulders and soaked in sweat. Rainbow Man is dripping with sweat as well. He says, it's hot as Satan's asshole out here. I can't believe people choose to live out here. Us Brits weren't made for the heat. Mirror Master says, we're almost there. Stop your whining. They entered Goldfield, and we can see Western people moving around. Many stop to stare at the strange people in their strange clothing. The Get Out guys are in their standard outfits. They see a general store, and they enter. Rainbow Man finds a bottle of alcohol for sale. The price tag says $2. Rainbow Man says, well, it isn't water, but I'll take what I can get. He immediately carries it up to the front. The shopkeeper looks at him. What kind of outfit is that? Rainbow Man says, the rainbow sort. Shopkeeper says, you're a limey. What brought you to Goldfield? Hey, it's time for everyone's favorite Bjorn section. History with Bjorn. To explain what the term limey means. I bet a lot of you were just thrown off by that. Limey is an 18th and 19th century insult for the British. Basically coming back to the fact that the Royal British Navy used to significantly eat limes to stave off scurvy on their boats. They used to carry limes with them. So for some reason, limey became a general insult for the British. There you go. History lesson with Bjorn over. Rainbow Man says, the scenic vistas. Now can I get my booze? He throws $2 from his wallet onto the counter. Shopkeeper looks at the money confused. What's that? Rainbow Man says, that's money, ain't it? The shopkeeper says, no money I'm taking. Your limey cash ain't good here. Rainbow Man says, no, mate. That's good U.S. cash right there. Eraser grabs Rainbow Man's arm and pulls him out of the general store. Says, the hell are you doing? I'm trying to buy a drink. Eraser says, I don't think you should be drinking alcohol right now. It's gonna just dehydrate you more. And I literally just explained how one mistake here could fuck up the whole timeline. Beyond that, your money's not good here. What, because I'm British? No, because it's 1890. They used different money back then. Doesn't look like that. We see Eraser and Mirror Master. We see Mirror Master and Mindboggler walk up over here in the last part of the conversation. You mean not only am I trapped here, but my money's no good? This place fucking sucks. Mindboggler says, it's a bit of a problem, actually. We're gonna need money to get a room to sleep in, right? Eraser says, yeah, but where are we gonna get a job here? I mean, we literally know nothing about what's going on. Merman says, who said anything about a job? I'm thinking it's gonna be much easier than that. The camera pans to where he's looking. Across the street is a bank. Merman says, what about a little shop behind the guard? Mirror Master says, now you're speaking my language. Let's get paid. When they cut to Terraman and Min riding up over a chasm, sort of mesa chasm thing, Jonah Hex leads them off their horses and carries a rifle. They begin to move down the mesa. He says, they're down there. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to stand up here with the rifle providing cover. You two, and whatever you can do, are going to go down there and distract them so I can start picking them off one by one. All hell's going to break loose. Kill on sight. These guys aren't getting any mercy from us. Terman says, yeah, well, they're bandits, right? Problem is, I don't reckon I speak Spanish. Jonah Hex smiles, he says, all the better. You'll be a stupider distraction. Go down there. Get it done. Min walks with him. She leans over and says, I speak Spanish. Terman says, oh yeah, that's right. I always forget that. She shrugs. Yeah, well, it doesn't really come up much, does it? The two are going to enter the camp of the Mexican bandits. They come out one by one, pointing their guns at them. Terman holds up his hands and says, whoa, hey, man, we're not hostile. We're looking to join up, right? You're the bandits, yeah? Min looks at him and starts translating into Spanish. The bandits all look at them and then reply back in Spanish. We're not interested. Empty your pockets and take out all your valuables. The man says, here's the thing, we're not going to be doing that, right? The bandits slowly begin to pull their pistols out one by one. Then suddenly we hear the crack of a rifle. One of the bandits' heads explodes and all hell breaks loose. They begin to open fire. Terror Man rolls to the left, dodging bullets that land in the dust behind him right where he would have been only moments ago. Reach says, here we go, making a shot for you. She holds up her hands, and 3 of the Mexican bandits begin to float up into the air, sort of dangling in the air. They scream as Terror Man pulls out his pistol and rolls off 3 quick shots, executing the men up in the air. They plummet to the ground, bleeding from gunshot wounds. The firefight sort of continues for a while until all the bandits are dead. We see Jonah Hex come back down from the mesa. He says, that was some fine work. You 2 are valuable, I see. He begins to slowly take the pinky fingers off the men one by one. Toby looks confused. He says, what are you doing? He says, these are for the bounty. We're going to ride towards Phoenix to claim the bounties. You 2 go back, get a hotel room, and lay low. I don't want any trouble. Here, take this. He gives them like $10 in the Western currency, which is like a lot of money. This should be enough to keep you fed and housed for a month. That should give you enough time to sort this out and get you home. I'll be back tomorrow or the next day. We'll sort it out then. We're going to cut to the Get Out guys. We see Eraser and Mindboggler walk up to the front desk of the bank. We see a bank teller there. Mindboggler says, good day, gentle sir, in her best, like, kind of terrible Western accent. Eraser just rolls his eyes and says, we're from out of town. Up north way, come down western path, I guess. We're looking to store some money in the bank here. Our fortune, if you will. The guy eyes them skeptically, then says, I'm sure I can help you with that. How much are you looking to store? Eraser says, well, first though, we would like a look inside your vault. A guided tour, if you will. Just to look and know that our money will be secure. He smiles. The guy says, we don't do that. No one's allowed in the vault. It's a security protocol, you see. I'd need to get my manager, and he'd need to talk to the head of the bank, and we'd have to schedule something. Eraser says, oh, but we are scheduled. Yeah, you have us on the schedule, right? Yeah. The guy says, no one's scheduled. I know. Mindboggler just rolls her eyes and looks at him. Can I do it, please? Come on, let's just get this over with. Eraser lets out a sigh and says, fine. She says, you have us on your schedule. The words echo, sounding strange in the ear. The man says, that's right. I do have you on the schedule. And you want us to come tour it right now. The man says, oh, yes, of course. He turns, guiding them behind the bank, and slowly opens up the vault. Once they're inside, he walks them around briefly, giving them a tour. As they walk, we see Eraser carefully drop his shard of mirror into the vault. Once they're done with the tour, he takes them back out. They nod and tell him they'll be in touch. They walk out. We smash cut to see Mirror Master and Rainbow Man arriving inside the vault. They look around. Mirror Master says, holy shit, no security cameras. I take back everything I said about this time period. Yeah, it's like taking candy from a baby. They start to grab dollar bills from a pile, stacked and pile in the room. They take a couple hundred, which is a lot of money in this time period if you didn't know. And then they slip back into the mirror, vanishing, leaving only a single shard of mirror behind as any evidence that they were ever there at all. The perfect crime in this time period. We're going to smash cut to Jonah arriving in the middle of a big town, probably Phoenix, Arizona, or one of the other larger western cities in Arizona. Almost as soon as he enters the building, a large bouncer with 2 revolvers at his waist holds up a hand to him. He says, Jonah says, I'm here to see Jebediah. I'm sure he's expecting me. The bouncer says, you wait. Jonah says, fine. The man comes back and says, you follow. Jonah follows him. He takes him into a large parlor room, like a very nice looking sort of office area. A man sits behind a nice mahogany desk, dressed in a fine western suit, with a top hat and a pocket watch. He says, Jebediah says, I was wondering when you were going to get here. It took you longer than I thought it would. Jonah Hex says, I had some business to take care of first. Jeb says, is that motherfucker that killed my men dead? Jonah says, no, not yet. That's what I've come to talk to you about. But first, a reconciliation prize. He hands him the baggie of pinkies. Those bandits up Northway that've been bothering you and your men. Taken care of. Done. Jeb says, you think this will make up for what happened to my men in Goldfield? You are Jonah Hex. I can't imagine what's held you up from solving this problem of ours. Jonah says, I know the kid that did it. He's my cousin, and I didn't know what he was doing. It started as a bar fight and it got out of hand. I stepped in, but I was too late. It won't happen again. I've come here to beg for mercy. He's a kid. He didn't know better. Jeb laughs to himself. He shakes his head and says, you know, your son, he's a real smart kid. It actually astonishes me. I reckon I am always in need of smart people in my service. Smart people just like his daddy. Jonah says, is that supposed to be a threat? Jeb smiles. If you want to call it that, sure. I prefer to call it a warning. I don't care if he's your nephew. I don't care if he's your son or the fucking King of England. That fucking bastard killed 17 of my men in the streets like dogs, and you let him walk away. I want you to know something, Hex. I held a gun to your son's head this morning and almost pulled the fucking trigger. He slams his fist down on the table. 17 of my men. It's an embarrassment, and the word is spreading. They're speaking of Terraman, the hero of Goldfield, who stood up to Jebediah. He dies. Or, I suppose, he must be a talented man to do what he did. If you want your precious fucking cousin to survive, he needs to come to me. He needs to bend the knee and serve, scrape and beg for his life, and earn it through service like you. Do you understand, Jonah Hex? Hex says, I do. Jeb says, one way or another, I want you to do this. Show me that you are still loyal to me. I'll wait. I want his head or his service, nothing else. And if you don't, if you think you can slip by or let him escape without you knowing, I will kill your wife and I will butcher your son. I will cut them into pieces and make you look before you die. You best not disappoint me, Hex. Jonah boils with rage. He says, if you hurt my family. Jeb says, you'll do what, Jonah? We played this out long ago and you lost. I have your family now. This only ends one way. Go. Jonah Hex turns to leave, but Jeb asks him one final question. You know, I've been wondering, Hex, that wife of yours sure is pretty. What did she see in a face like yours, I wonder? How did you get those scars? You never told me. Jonah says, it was a brand once, from a man I hated. I cut his brand off with a hatchet, and this was what was left. I'll bring the kid to you, dead or willing to serve, but if you dare to touch my wife or son, I will feed you your own balls before I put a bullet through your brain. Jeb laughs. Oh, Hex, I don't know what I'd do without you. You have 2 days, and then I'll come. I'll kill your cousin slowly. I'll gut your family, and I'll burn Goldfield to the ground and salt the earth, so no piss-poor fucking farmers can ever live there again. You know I'm not bluffing. Get to work. We're going to cut to the get out, guys. We see Terraman and Reach riding their horses back into Goldfield. They tie their tethers to a stand in front of a local hotel and head inside with their $10 from Jonah Hex. They walk up to the front counter and ask for a room. General little, dialogue. As they do, we see Eraser and Mindboggler coming down a set of stairs. They stop when they see the two. We're going to smash cut to them all sitting at a table eating some sort of food. Eraser says, do you understand what I'm saying to you? If you guys go around making any sort of choice that affects the flow of time going forward, the world we knew might not be there when we get back. So, have you altered anything? Anything at all? Reach says, you could say that. Eraser says, what did you do? Terraman says, it was more me. I got into a bar fight this morning at the local guard, shot about like 10 or 15 people. I also met my own great-grandpa. He's super cool, by the way, exactly like I always imagined. He is a bona fide hero, and I think that's awesome. Racer says, holy shit, 15 people. It was one morning, and you met your own relative from the past? Listen, from here on out, you have to be very careful. Even the smallest thing you do could have a rippling effect on the timeline. Reach says, you're talking about the butterfly effect. There's no proof that that's even how this works. Eraser says, oh, finally, someone who reads. I guess we don't know for sure, but we don't know that it's not how it works, right? You understand what I'm saying? We have to play it safe. Mindboggler says, I still do not understand what any of this has to do with butterflies. Reach says, it's more of a metaphorical thing. It's from a book. Eraser says, you're wasting your time. I've explained it to her probably 6 times. Mindboggler says, I'm just saying, why would they call it the butterfly effect if it's got nothing to do with butterflies? It's stupid. Terraman raises his hand as if he's going to ask the teacher a question. I have seen Back to the Future. So you're saying if I continue to interact with my great-great-grandpa, I could erase myself from existence, like disappear from the pictures and shit? Racer says, I mean, I don't know that that's what's going to happen, but it's a definite possibility. By even interacting with him, you've already altered the flow of his timeline would have been. That's a direct one-to-one to you, not even some nebulous thing. I think we need to stay in our hotel rooms until we get this whole thing sorted out, one way or another. But absolutely, try not to kill anyone anymore. Terraman nods and says, I reckon I can do that. Reach says, I'll make sure that he does that. I think for now we need to get some sleep. We can try to figure this out tomorrow. Eraser says, yeah, probably for the best. Oh, here. He hands them $30 in old USD. Reach says, where'd you get this? Eraser just smiles. He says, we're the, get out guys. We sort of expropriated it. Don't go around flashing it to anyone. That's actually a lot of money around here. It should be more than enough to pay for our hotel room and food until we can figure a way out of here. Tomorrow, we're going to make an effort to figure out the time sphere and try to crack its combination code. Actually, Min, I might need your help with that. You might be the only one here besides me who even has a chance at it. You seem more intelligent than the rest of these guys. Mindboggler says, hey. Eraser says, well, it's true. Reach says, yeah, okay, I'll come over and take a look. But if I had to guess, if it works how you say, we're just going to have to guess and check, right? Eraser says, I hope not, because if we do, we're not leaving anytime soon. It's going to be a serious problem. We're going to cut to a montage of the Get Out guys. We see Eraser and Mirror Master and Rainbow Man napping in various positions. Mindboggler watches Reach and Eraser guess combinations on the time sphere. We see Terraman patrolling the town. It's very clear that he's basically intentionally aura farming like a cowboy in a movie. Many of the locals actually look at him with reverence. We hear a few whisper, that's Terraman. He freed us from Jebediah Turnbull. He's a hero, they say. Another local says, I hear he's the best gun in the West. Even better than Sheriff Hex. We see a little girl approach him nervously. She says, Mr. Terraman, I lost my pet cat. You think you could help me find him? Terraman smiles at the little girl and says, well, of course, I reckon that couldn't hurt anything. She's the cat, right? You reckon you know where you last saw it? Little girl says, yes, sir. I saw him by the shed at our house. Terraman says, show me where. We're going to hard cut to Terraman climbing underneath the shed with his ass and legs sticking out through a hole. He manages to wiggle his way out, holding the cat in his hands, and he very carefully hands it back to the little girl. He says, now don't be losing him again. It was kind of a pain in the ass to catch him, and he does like to scratch. The little girl says, thank you, Mr. Terraman. You are a really nice guy, like they say. Is it true that you're the best gun in the West? Terraman smiles and says, maybe. I reckon I don't know. The little girl says, I think you are. It's nice to have a hero like you around. Terraman says, it's not like you haven't had one before. You got the sheriff. The little girl says, oh, yes, but, Sheriff Hex, he ain't like you. Terraman smiles. He says, don't let his scary face fool you. He's one of the good ones. We're going to cut to the sheriff's office. We see Terraman sitting in the sheriff's office when Jonah Hex arrives. He looks worn out from the traveling. His eyes almost immediately lock onto Terraman. Jonah Hex says, oh, good. I don't have to find you. We need to chat. Terraman says, about what? Jonah Hex says, about your future here. I need to know, will you be able to get back from where you're from? Terraman says, I don't know, but from what I'm hearing, if we can, it's going to be a while. Jonah Hex says, that's what I was worried about. Then we have another issue at hand, that concerning Jebediah Turnbull. Terraman says, I thought you were handling that. Jonah Hex says, it didn't go quite as well as I'd hoped. You see, Mr. Jebediah is a very powerful man, and his influence spreads to this town and all the others around it. And he's right pissed that you killed his men. Terraman says, they deserved it. Jonah Hex says, it doesn't matter, boy. The point is, he's given me two choices. Either I kill you, or you bend the knee and serve him until you're able to leave. He'll probably leave you with me, watching over his interests in this town. Nothing too complicated. Terraman is shocked. It's in his voice. What? Jonah Hex says, you have two choices, son. You die, or you serve. He didn't leave him much choice when he killed more than a dozen of his men. Terraman says, you work for Jebediah Turnbull? Jonah Hex says, I do, and I have for about 3 years now. He mostly leaves me alone, but sometimes he gives me an order like today. It's not a bad life, all things being considered. I'd take that deal if I were you. Terraman says, no, this is all wrong. You're supposed to be a hero. They said you fought off Jebediah, that you saved the town from him. Hex laughs. That's a story, and it ain't a reliable one. I don't know what they'll say about me in the future, but I am no hero. There's no such thing. Terraman shakes his head. You're wrong. There are heroes. People who are willing to do the right thing even at their own expense. People who stand up to villains and bullies. People who are good and selfless. Hex shakes his head. It's a nice thought, boy, but it's naive. Ain't no one really selfless. I tried to do that once. There was a time when I was like you. I was idealistic and thought I could save the whole world. I helped the poor and the desperate, and I fought off crooks and criminals. And then I picked a fight with someone who was bigger than me, someone more dangerous than me. The same man whose men you just shot in the streets, and Jebediah took almost everything from me. He has my wife and my child, and I will not lose them. You want to be a hero? I think that's fucking naive. The world is a cruel and vicious place. You show it an ounce of kindness, and it will tear everything from you. And that's what heroes get. Even if you survive me, do you think Jebediah will ever stop hunting you down? You think that woman of yours would be safe? I can tell you the answer. Terraman says, you're wrong. Hex says, am I, boy? Because I don't think I am. What has being a hero ever gotten you? Where have you ended up? I can tell you where you're going if you keep on like this. Right into the goddamn grave. I have seen it so many times. My brother was like you and he's dead. They were generous giving you this offer. I had to fight to get it for you. You need to take it, or you and your girl will die, and your friends too, most like. Your skills won't save you from them. Not men like Jebediah. They have people that work for them. People like us. Terraman shakes his head. Then I'd die like a hex on my feet with a smile on my face doing what's right. Fighting back. When did the world decide that being good was naive? Because I think you're wrong. I think it's the opposite. I think if you go around being evil and hurting people everywhere you go, then they will turn their back on you. There is a time when a man has to take justice into his own hands, regardless of the risk, because it is what is right. How can it be naive to be a good man, to be a hero? If being kind and good is naive, then goddammit I am naive, and I will be naive until the day I die. Because I'm Terraman and you're just a disappointment. Hex says, you know what comes next if you don't bend the knee to him, boy. They will kill you. I will kill you. Terraman says, yeah, I reckon I understand. Hex says, I don't want to do this, but they have left me with no choice. I will not let my daughter die, and I will not let him kill my wife. Terraman says, there's another way. We can save them. We can fight back, like the fight in the canyon today. It doesn't have to be like this. Hex says, it does if you won't bend the knee. The time to fight is long past. I hope not to see you get hurt, but you've left me no choice. Think it over. think about what it'll do to your woman when you die. 'Cause tomorrow, boy, I will kill you. We're going to cut to Eraser and Mindboggler. We see them sitting on the floor of their hotel room. Mindboggler, Eraser turns the time sphere in his hand over and over again, trying to guess the code. Mindboggler sits next to him, watching. Each combination he tries, she marks off on a large sheet of paper they have. Eraser says, "This is fucking useless. It's going to take us years to guess the combination, and we don't even know how long it is." Mindboggler says, "We could get lucky." Eraser says, "When have we ever gotten lucky?" Mindboggler says, "Good point. There could be another way." Eraser says, "What's that?" Mindboggler says, "We know this thing came from Egypt, right? We could go there and figure out the combination from the tomb. Someone had to have written it down, right? Or else the World War II villains wouldn't have been able to use it." Eraser says, "Honestly, not the worst idea, but there's a bit of a problem. How do we get there?" "How do we get there?" Mindboggler says, "We could use my powers. I know we say we aren't going to do it, and that I'm not supposed to control people with my powers and enslave them to my will, but I think for this we could make an exception, right? I don't think we have much of a choice." Eraser says, "I don't like it, and not even for the moral reason. I just feel like it would make too much of an impact on the course of history, right? Getting a whole bunch of mentally enslaved people to excavate a tomb 120 years early without permission, it's risky. Plus, if we take the time sphere early, then it could create a paradox, because how would we ever get back here?" Mindboggler says, "I feel like us living here long term trying to figure out the code is worse." Eraser says, "There's another option, and it's not good, though." Mindboggler says, "What?" Eraser says, "It could erase us. That way we wouldn't alter the timeline further. We could save the future." Mindboggler says, "Yeah, but then we'd die. Look, I'm all for the whole hero thing, but I don't want to kill myself. I'm not suicidal." Eraser says, "Yeah, no, as I said, it was a bad option. Last resort." Mindboggler says, "There will be something else. There has to be. We're the Get Out guys. We always get out in the end, right?" Eraser says, "Yeah, I guess we do." Mindboggler says, "With all this craziness, I haven't gotten to say thank you yet." Eraser says, "For what?" "For helping me, idiot. It means a lot. You're the only real friend I've ever had." Eraser says, "I'm just a guy who wore a pencil costume once. I'm just telling you things anyone else could have, but you're welcome. And for what it's worth, I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I've actually come to see you as a friend too. And I mean that." Mindboggler says, "Hey, I like the pencil costume, for what it's worth. I've just been looking back on my life and all these horrible things I've done, the people I've hurt, and I didn't even really used to think about it, but now I can't stop thinking about it." Eraser. Eraser sets down the time sphere and looks at her. "I know the feeling. I think better than you might realize." Mindboggler says, "I mean, how can you? You're practically a saint compared to me. Saint Pencil." Eraser says, "I don't really go around telling people this, but when I said I couldn't erase people before, it was a lie. I knew before I erased that guy in the robot suit, and I knew because I killed my brother. I was young, and I hadn't really manifested my powers much. I'd used them once or twice to erase little things, but I didn't even realize what I'd done. My mom had been pregnant, and when she gave birth to my brother, his name was Henry. Even though he was a baby, he looked just like my mother. He had her eyes and her nose, and I promised I would protect him. And my mom finally let me hold him in my arms, and he smiled and laughed, and then he just vanished. I hadn't even realized what I'd done, and he was just gone. I erased him. My parents never forgave me, but I never forgave myself either. I killed him. And it's haunted me ever since." Mindboggler says, "Holy shit, I never knew." Eraser says, "It's not really something I go around advertising. I'm a kinslayer. Not great, is it?" Mindboggler says, "Did I ever tell you about my first time?" Eraser says, "Maybe. You told me about that thing with the celebrity party and the yacht." Mindboggler says, "No, not sex. Gross." Eraser says, "Oh yeah, I'm the gross one. I'm talking about the first time I ever killed anyone." Eraser says, "You mean the Ben and Jerry's thing?" No, that was bad. Really, really bad. I'm actually sorry I told you about that. But that wasn't the first time." Eraser says, "You mean the one with the airplane, then?" Mindbugger says, no, look, I don't think I've told you about this one before. I avoid it. I was in high school when I got my powers, and I was a weird kid before. Eraser says, what, you're kidding? You? Weird? You're kidding. Mindbugger says, look, I'm being serious. I was different from the other kids, so naturally I got bullied. These two bitches in particular, they were really mean to me. They never left me alone. They mocked me, hit me, tortured me. Even my foster parents didn't want anything to do with me. One night it got really bad. I overheard my parents say they didn't want me anymore, and that they were going to look for a new home for me. And those women went especially hard that day, and I just snapped. I thought about doing something bad to myself. Instead, I did something I've never done. I went to a church, and I prayed. I prayed to be saved, to be left alone. I prayed that God would kill them all. And he answered my prayers. The next day in school, the girls, they told me they wanted to be my friends and to make up for what they've done. It was everything I'd hoped for. They invited me to smoke weed in the bathroom, and then when I went there, it was a trick. They shoved my head into a toilet, and I just snapped. And I yelled at them all to stop, and they did. It was the first time I got my powers, and I made them kill each other. It was the first time I'd gotten my powers. I made them kill each other, and I watched. Her eyes, Samantha, when she drowned her friend, they were so filled with fear and horror, and I laughed. They were cruel to me, and so I laughed, but they didn't deserve that. That was the day I became Mindboggler. Looking back on it, Aunt Leia, she died in that church alone, begging for help. I'm hoping maybe someday she can come back and find that happiness she always wanted. And thanks to you, I feel like I could get there. I could really get there. She finishes the story with tears rolling down her eyes. She wipes away one of the tears. Eraser says, Jesus. Mindboggler says, do you think there's any forgiveness for the things I've done? We've done? We've done? Eraser says, I don't know. I think some things can't be erased, but you can keep being better and try to make up for it. I think there's some forgiveness there. Mindboggler says, thank you. I would have never changed if it weren't for you. You were the only one who ever told me the truth. Everyone else was too afraid. You know, you're braver than people give you credit for. Eraser says, no, I'm really not. Come on, let's get back to it. We can trauma dump more later. We see them trying combinations in the time sphere again. We're going to cut to Terraman and Reach. Terraman enters the room with Reach, and she immediately rushes up to him. You talked to your great-great-grandfather again, didn't you? Terraman nods. She says, how'd it go? Terraman says, badly. Reach says, how so? Terraman says, my whole life is a lie, man. Everything I ever believed in. Reach says, tell me what happened. It's my great-great-granddad. He ain't some hero. He's a criminal serving Jebediah Turnbow. They've given me two choices. Serve Jebediah and his crime ring, or Jonah Hex kills me. But I won't serve a man like that. Reese says, so what does that mean? Terraman says, it means come tomorrow, I will be meeting Jonah in the street. It'll be a duel to the death. One I intend to win. Reese shakes her head. No, this is a bad idea. You have to be careful. You can't kill him, remember? Terraman says, I know, I don't intend to kill him. The thing is, man, he told me things. Horrible things. Told me that being kind was naive, that being a hero and helping others only gets men killed. Everything I thought he stood for is a lie. The role models I looked up to are nothing but figments in this place. It's nothing like what I thought. Min shakes her head. I don't think you're naive. Well, not completely. You know what I see when I look at you? I see a hero. The one who protected me from bullies when I was defenseless. The kid who made me smile when I was down. The guy who almost gave up his own freedom to help some poor steelworkers who were going to lose their jobs and their homes. You make everyone around you better. You make them happy. You make them smile. You help others even at your own expense. And maybe that is a little naive. But I think it's good. Terraman begins to cry. He says, thank you. Min says, Toby, you are the best man I've ever met. Kind almost to a fault, and brave. So brave. So what if he isn't what you thought? You are everything he isn't, and that's all right. Look at me. If the illusion of him got you here, then that's all that matters. She wipes away some of the tears from his eyes. Terraman smiles, says, I always heard to never meet your heroes, but this place isn't what I thought in general. People here are harsh and cold. I mean, they're scared, men. Scared of criminals, and maybe even Jonah Hex himself. They need Terraman. They need my help. Reach says, then you give it to them. Protect them from Hex if you need to. Just be careful for me. Your great-grandpa is a dangerous man. I see it in his eyes. You may not be willing to hurt people, but he is. I just know. I've seen that look before. Terraman says, yeah, you're probably right, but he doesn't frighten me. Min backs off him. Min says, well, that's good, I guess. She backs off him and sort of spins to the center of the room, then holds out her hand to Toby. She says, come on, you owe me a dance. Terraman says, I do? Reach says, yeah, that night you went and got yourself arrested. That was supposed to be our prom. You were supposed to dance with me, and you didn't show. So, come on, you owe me a dance. She holds out her hand to him again. This time he smiles and takes it. The two begin to dance as the song So Cold by Balu Brigada, I think is the name of the band. There, it's on the playlist. They spin and dance across the room as the song plays. At one point, Min even floats off the floor and spins in the air before landing back into Toby's arm. She laughs as she does, but Toby notices the tentacle in her arm grow ever so slightly larger. Just a small amount of the tentacle creeps further up her arm. His face turns to a frown. The song dies as the two make their way out to the balcony. Toby looks at her and says, your tattoo is getting bigger. I know this was supposed to be our last one. I think maybe when this is over, you should stop using your powers. Min says, yeah, I've been thinking about that too. I thought I could hold it back on my own, but it's getting harder. The powers are just like walking for me. I don't know, I've always used them. It's hard to stop, you know? I know we've talked about it, but the thing inside of me, Toby, it's bad. It has a way of worming into my mind sometimes. It can make me think bad thoughts. My mother warned me about it. It was what happened to my dad, in the end, what killed him. I'm scared, Toby. Scared that I'm going to end up just like him. Scared that maybe I'm bad too. Maybe it isn't the Reach in my mind at all. Maybe it's just me, my thoughts. Toby cups her cheek and holds her eyes to look at his. No, that's bullshit. I look out at the world, and I see all this beauty. I see people like you, men. I see kindness and hope, and yet not too many others can really see it. They look up at that same beautiful horizon and sky and kind people, and they see wickedness and darkness. And I just don't understand it at all, man. I mean, look at it. It's beautiful. And when I look at you, I see that same beauty, that same kindness. Min does look out. She looks out at the beautiful starry sky above them and smiles. She knows out there that those are burning hot, dangerous balls of fire, that some of them suck the life from planets. But you know, they're beautiful. And sometimes they warm planets that surround them to keep life alive, and they hold gravity together. And she sees it, beauty in the darkness. She slowly floats up towards the sky as if she can reach out and grab the stars, then floats back down to Toby. Reach says, I see it. It's beautiful. It's thanks to you I can see it for what it is. Terraman looks more serious than usual. He says, so many people want to make it less pretty. But my great-great-granddad, I can make him see it too. Tomorrow. I'm going to tell him what I think. I hope I can make him see the beauty in himself. I'm going to tell him he's wrong. And I can make him see the right way. He's a good man deep down, I know, and I can help him. He just needs help. Reach says, just be careful, Toby. Not all people are as good as you. Terraman says, I know, but men, I feel a storm coming in my guts. I just might need his help, and he needs mine. I just have to make him see it. He's a Hex at the end of the day, and Hexes help people. Always. In the distance, thunder rumbles. Dark storm clouds begin to roll over the beautiful sky and starry stars. The camera moves out into the Arizona wilderness towards the thunder. We see the body of World War II villain. A few vultures hang around it as they try to pick at it, but they can't break through his skin, his bulletproof skin. Thunder rumbles overhead, flashing lights, and the birds scatter. Suddenly, we see his eye begin to heal from the bullet wound in it. The flesh begins to peel around it, knitting itself back together. A metal bullet lazily gets pushed up out of the eye hole and falls to the side. One of the satanic stars tattooed on his hand vanishes, and the ink leaks from it, dripping onto the ground like blood. When his eye is whole, his other one opens, and lightning strikes as he takes a gasp of air. We're going to cut to Goldfield in the morning. The sun hangs high over Goldfield. People hurry into their houses and shut their doors. We see Terraman and Reach step out onto the porch of their hotel. She says, "You sure you don't want my help? This is dangerous, especially given the circumstances." Terraman says, "This is my battle and I need to fight it." Reach says, "Just be careful, okay? You can't kill him, Toby. I'm pretty sure that would whack up the timeline like Racer warned us." Terraman says, "I know. I don't want to get Marty McFly'd. I don't need to kill him to beat him. He'll see his mistake. I know he can. Somewhere in that man is a good person, even if he doesn't see it himself." He smiles with confidence. Reach says, "I hope so, but still, Toby, be safe." Toby smiles at her with all the confidence in the world as he makes his way out to the center of the street. From across the way, Jonah Hex steps out of the sheriff's office. His two pistols gleam at his waist, catching the sunlight. His eyes are filled with sheer determination. He says, "Last chance, boy. Please reconsider this." Terraman says, "I won't. Last chance for you too, sir. It's not too late to fight the right enemy. We should not be doing this. It's a waste. Together we can beat this Jebediah. We can free your family and make the town better. You can still be a hero. Please, Jonah, I know you have it in you." Jonah Hex stops, pausing to think. Then his face hardens. "No, I don't. Not anymore. So it comes to violence. Don't say I didn't warn you." Eraser and the rest of the Get Out guys will arrive on the porch next to Min. Eraser says, "Oh, what's going on here?" Min looks over at him and says, "Family drama. Toby's about to duel his great-great-granddad." Eraser says, "Well, that's a great way to erase himself from the timeline." Min says, "He won't." Eraser says, "Well, that's reassuring." Rainbow Man says, "Well, real Western shootout. That's pretty badass." Min looks nervous. Mindboggler seems to notice. She bites her bottom lip, then approaches her. She says, "Hey, it's gonna be okay. I've seen him fight. He's, got this." Min smiles lightly at her. She says, "I hope so." We're gonna begin a Western standoff. Both Toby and Jonah stare each other down. Their fingers inch closer to their guns. The music swells, and then they draw. Both pistols whip up out of their holsters. We see it in slow motion. They both fire bullets, and they launch towards each other. Toby almost immediately throws himself to the side. His bullet goes wide, missing Jonah almost on purpose, but Jonah's bullet grazes the side of his cheek, taking a chunk of it off. Toby just barely got himself out of the way. They pull their pistols up again and fire once more. Toby's bullet knocks into Jonah's, making both bullets go wide, and this time Toby fires first. His bullet travels right into Jonah's gun, knocking it from his hand. The gun falls to the ground behind him. We see Toby holding up his firearm, smoke curling from the barrel, and blood running down his cheek. He pulls back the hammer on the gun again. Terraman says, "You're beat. Surrender." Jonah Hex just stares at him and then says, "You're not gonna kill me. I see it in your eyes. I warned you, son. Naive." He turns his back on Toby, begins to slowly walk towards the ground where his pistol is. Terraman says, "Stop right there." Jonah says, I'm not gonna pick this firearm up and I'm gonna shoot you." "Stop me." Terraman doesn't. Jonah reaches down as if to pick up his pistol. Then he does. He pulls it up and levels it at Terraman. Terraman's hand shakes on his gun. His fingers twirl towards the trigger. Jonah Hex says, "I'm sorry you had to learn this lesson this way, boy. I'm sorry you had to be so naive." Then all of a sudden, Jonah is thrown into the side of a building. He smashes through the wood and twirls to the side. Terraman immediately looks towards Reach, but she's just as confused. It wasn't her. Suddenly we see him. He hovers over the building behind Jonah, Captain WW2 villain. Terraman locks eyes with him and says, "Oh no." Eraser says, "Oh shit, he's alive." The captain floats down until he lands in front of the Get Out guys. He says, "You know, it is very rude to kill your client. Bad business." Rainbow Man says, "Yeah, listen, mate, it wasn't the plan. But you were wearing big fucking swastika pajamas the whole time. And I feel like that wasn't made clear to us. I have a policy of avoiding working with World War II villains." The captain says, "Shut up. Where is the time sphere?" Rainbow Man says, "The what now? I don't know what you're talking about, mate." Suddenly, a bolt of energy strikes Rainbow Man in the chest, and he sits sprawling back into the bar behind him. He shatters against the glass bottles lining the shelves. The captain says, "I know you have it. You're stuck here. Give it to me and I will free you from this place." Eraser chimes in this time. He says, "We can clearly see that he has the time sphere behind his back." He says, "Once again, the big swastika on your chest is sort of a deal breaker. I think we've got a pretty good idea of what you want to use it for, and frankly, we aren't interested. We know the kind of guy you are." WW2 villain says, "You know nothing about me. I want..." Bullets begin to bounce off his skin as Terraman opens fire. Captain WW2 turns his attention back to him. He flies towards him with a burst of speed, grabbing Terraman by the neck and throwing him into a building. The top part of the building collapses on top of him, covering him with bits of wood. Reach lets out a scream and flies towards the captain. She holds out her hand, and he's thrown backwards, slamming into the ground. She holds him there under the pressure of gravity itself. As she yells, we see the tentacles growing up her arm slightly more. She holds him there as he begins to get pressed into the ground. He tries to fight back with his own power, slowly beginning to lift himself, but she doubles the effort of gravity on him. It's clearly taking a toll on her. She says, "This World War II villain piece of shit just hurt Toby. Erase him. We can't kill him normally, clearly." Eraser says, "Yeah." He begins to run towards Captain WW2 villain. Suddenly, the captain manages to stand back on his feet, withholding the strength of gravity. He holds out his hand and a pentagram appears, burning in fire on the back of it. Blood magic. A fireball appears from his hand and then slams into the side of Reach, sending her crashing into the rubble near where Toby landed. Eraser says, "Shit." The captain turns out both of his hands towards Eraser and forces him back by something we can't see. Eraser is clearly levitated off the ground, then thrown into Mindboggler just as she's about to cry out words to control Captain WW2. We see the time sphere knocked out of Eraser's hand. It bounces and rolls across the street towards the rubble on the opposite side. Captain WW2 villain didn't notice. Suddenly, Mirror Master holds up his disintegration ray and fires. It bounces off WW2 villain's skin like a mirror and flies back towards the hotel. It makes impact against the wood and explodes outward, sending shards of wood flying into Mirror Master. We see Eraser roll on top of Mindboggler just in time as the shards of wood vanish on contact with the skin, protecting her. An entire half of the building is disintegrated by the rest of the beam. Captain WW2 says, "How pathetic. You could have been venerated in another world, but look at you. You will be called cowards, those who fought against the necessary and good change. That is the time sphere." Suddenly we see Terraman stand to his feet. Blood runs down his nose and mouth. In his hand he holds the time sphere, in the other his revolver. Captain says, "The cowboy. Good. Hand me the time sphere and you will have fame and glory, wealth beyond your imagining, and a new place of honor in the new world. You see, the sphere protects those who use it from the alterations of time. You will not cease to exist, my friend. You will get to live out your life in a world free from strife and chaos." Terraman says, "You see, I've got a bit of a problem with that idea. I don't know exactly what you want with this, but I know it ain't good. You see, I'm a man of that new west, that Terra Nova out yonder. You can call me Terraman. And the thing is, Terraman can't abide no goddamn World War II villains. I'm gonna send your ass to meet Mustache Man in hell." He holds up his revolver and fires once, twice. The bullets bounce off WW2 villain's chest. The captain seems genuinely angry. He says, "Fool!" He flies forward as Terraman fires more shots and grabs him by the throat, holding him up by his neck. Terraman kicks out at him, but the captain doesn't even react. "We should not be enemies, Western gunslinger. If you want your freedom for your kind, you seek solitude from the world, to fight for what you believe. You'd do anything for your family. We are so similar." Terraman says, "Not likely." The captain says, "How disappointingly small-minded. You remind me of someone I knew a long ago. My brother. So kind and heroic, willing to sacrifice himself for the sake of others. You even have his eyes. I've missed those eyes. It's going to make this hard. But I killed him too, and I will do anything to make up for that mistake. Anything, you understand. All of this, it is for him. So please, Guild, do not make me do this. Maybe it's naive to be a hero, but it's what I want to be. So fuck you, World War II villain. I'm Terror Man, and I won't lick Mustache Man's boots. WW2 villain's face looks so disappointed. He reaches down and pulls Terror Man's pistol from his holster. Terror Man looks at him and says, "You won't win." The captain says, "I already have." He fires a bullet through Terror Man's chest. Blood runs down his shirt. The captain looks at him and looks almost bereaved. He tosses the pistol away and then holds Terror Man's body closer as it bleeds. "So long, cowboy. Your time is long past. You may think this is cruel, but when my work is done, you will have never suffered." Terror Man looks so surprised as he bleeds. The captain looks sad. Then, as he watches the cowboy struggle in pain, he turns his head away, then tosses his body away like a rag doll. As his body falls back towards the dirt, we see Min watch in horror as she climbs out of the rubble. She screams and scrambles over the rubble desperately. Blood runs from a cut on the side of her head. As she does, we see flashes to the past. Terror Man and Reach robbing a bank together like Bonnie and Clyde, all to make the world a better place. Toby hits the ground. Blood leaks from the hole in his chest. We see a young Toby teaching men how to shoot a BB gun. They shoot bottles in Toby's backyard and laugh as they have so much fun. Min reaches her side and clutches her hand over the wound, trying to hold the blood back. It leaks through her fingers, and she lets out little panicked noises. Toby and Min dance together in their room. She spins and he laughs. Captain World War II villain picks up the time sphere. He laughs with joy as he does it. At long last, he can undo everything. He can fix it all. Toby's bloodshot eyes shift over to Min. He looks happy to see her. He says, "Oh, good, Min. You gotta... Oh, God, Min. You gotta stop him. He's gonna..." Min says, "I know. Don't talk. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna get you help. We're gonna get you help." Terror Man says, "It hurts, Min. It hurts damn bad. I didn't think dying would hurt. They're always so damn stoic in the movies. I didn't think I'd die crying." He smiles faintly as blood runs from his mouth. Reach says, "No, you don't say that. You're not gonna die. You're okay, alright? The others are gonna get help." "Help! You need the doctor. Help!" she cries out. Terror Man says, "We're in the Wild West, man. I don't think there's a doctor here who you'd want. Plus, I'm hit bad, man." Reach says, "We're gonna find someone. Hurry!" she cries out. We see Mirror Master pull himself out of the rubble and look around confused. Terror Man reaches up a bloody hand and turns Min to look at him. He says, "Hey, Min. I'm glad you're here. I love you so much. I'm sorry I couldn't keep going with you like I always promised." Min says, "No, you don't quit. You don't do that. You never." Terror Man looks at her and says, "I'm sorry, Min. So sorry. I love you. You're my best friend, and I always meant to always." He fades off as his breathing becomes labored. He starts to cough up blood. He chokes and spasms. Then he just dies. He falls still, and his eyes glaze over. Min clutches his body, holding her hand desperately to the wound, but the blood stops pulsing through it. It fades away. She cries, "Toby, no, help! Please, I need help!" We see Captain WW2 villain begin to float up into the air, looking off into the distance. Tears fall from his eyes. The song Dutchland by Rama Steid begins to play. The captain says, "Eins, I'm coming." We see Rainbow Man pull himself out from the rubble of the bar. His face is cut all over. Jonah Hex gets from where he was thrown up and looks up. All of them see Captain WW2 hoist the time sphere up into the air. Rainbow Man says, "Fuck." He rushes towards him, forming a sword of light, but it's too late. A massive dome of energy spreads over the area. There's a flash of light, and the Get Out guys arrive in the middle of World War II. We see men rushing through trenches and artillery fire lighting up in the distance. The ground is covered with a hazy mist, and the screams of men carry through the air. We see a few tanks plowing through the mud, launching ordnance shells. Airplanes fly overhead, occasionally getting in dogfights. As the song picks up, we see WW2 villain flying above it all. A smile grows across his face. I've done it. The camera moves down from him through the battlefield until we get to the Get Out guys. Eraser and many of the others are crouched behind a large stone covered in barbed wire. He holds his hands over his ears and shakes. Next to him we see Mindboggler, who's equally shook, and Jonah Hex, completely bewildered by everything happening around him. He says, "What is this?" Eraser says, I think it's World War II. Jonah Hex says, "World War what?" Mindboggler and Mirror Master look equally shook. Rainbow Man peers around the side of their cover and sees Captain WW2 villain floating. He says, "Alright, listen up, boys. We may have royally fucked everything up, but we're not out yet. We cannot let that fuck World War II villain get away." Eraser says, "You're right, but if he does what he wants and relights the world, we're fucked. The whole world is boned." Emery says, "Yeah, and more importantly, he's got the fucking time spell, which is our way out of here. He's got the combination in his fucking World War II villain noggin. So I say we pin his ass down with Mindboggler here. We pin his ass down and then let Mindboggler here pry the fucking code right out of his brain. It's going to be a team effort, right? But we can get through it. It'll need all of us, especially you, man. You're the only one who can fly, so you can get up there to him." He turns to look at Min, still clutching the body of Toby. As it grows paler, her knees sink into the thick mud of the battlefield. Rain falls from overhead. Min looks up as the tentacle tattoo grows across her face, curling around her eyes. Her eyes that have begun to glow green. The pupils become wider as her lips turn into a furious snarl. She doesn't even pay attention to the others, only locks eyes with Captain WW2 in the distance. She says, "You," in a voice that's not quite human. She begins to float off the ground. An explosion rocks the ground behind her as a mortar shell hits. Mirror Master looks up at her with discomfort. He says, "Are her eyes supposed to be doing that?" Racer says, "I don't think so. There's something wrong with her." Captain WW2 hasn't even noticed yet. He gloats triumphantly as he looks over the battlefield. "The Third Reich will spread across the world. This day changes history. The long mission is finally complete. The world is ours and ours. He'll live. He'll live." He laughs with joy. Then suddenly he's thrown to the ground and slams into the side of a tank, which explodes around him. He quickly climbs out of the wreckage. His hand grabs a hold of the metal of the tank, squeezing it and bending it. He looks up and we see Reach floating towards him. Her hair waves around in the air as if she's underwater. Her eyes are fully glowing green and tentacle tattoos swirl across her entire body. The Reach has almost complete control of her. Her shirt is ripped and torn in so many places. She looks at him with absolute disdain and says, "You took him from me. Suffer." She raises her hand, covered in tentacle tattoos, and Captain WW2 is hoisted up into the air. He's pinned in the air, shaking. Suddenly, his arms begin to snap in multiple different directions as gravity pulls on him in all different angles. His bones and ribs, his legs, all snap. He screams as all of his bones in his body are snapped as gravity rips and tears at him. His head is suddenly snapped around, completely ripping out his throat. His body dangles there, dripping with blood, and Min lets it plummet to the ground. The Get Out guys slowly approach her. We see Mirror Master walk up to her, where she's floating. He says, "Jesus, I think you got him." Min turns to look at him, revealing her face. Her eyes are like an octopus, and she looks at him and smiles, revealing teeth like an anglerfish. The tentacle tattoos squirm across her face. The Reach has her. Mirror Master says, "What the hell?" Then suddenly, he's lifted up by her hand and thrown back. He slams into the rock Eraser is hiding behind. His head hits on the rock, and the screen goes black. In that blackness, we see ripples, as if there's water. They flow in recognizable patterns, footsteps, someone walking through shallow water in complete darkness. The camera cranes up slowly and ominously. We see green shapes appearing on the horizon and flow like twisting hurricanes. And in that black void, we see Min. She looks confused. She looks around, unsure of what's going on. She says, "Where am I? What's going on? Toby, are you?" "Oh, he's dead." The realization hits her like a train. She falls to her knees and begins to cry. Suddenly, the entire world flickers like static on a TV. Min is looking around again. She's standing, but she was just on her knees, and then we hear a voice. "There you are, Min." I've been looking all over for you. She turns around and we see Toby Hex, dressed in normal jeans and a t-shirt with Alan Jackson on it. Min says, Toby, but you died. I saw it. Toby says, what? No, I didn't die. I got a doctor to me. Don't you remember? You wouldn't believe it, but my great-granddad knew a good one in town. I was right, Min. There was good in him. He changed his way. He saved my life, Min. Min says, you weren't breathing. There was so much blood, Toby. Toby looks at her and says, you're mistaken, Min. Look, I'm right here. He walks up to her and takes her hand in his and lifts it up so she can touch his face. Solid. He's real. Toby says, I know that must have been so scary. Min doesn't even listen. She wraps him up in a hug and kisses him deeply. She says, I thought I lost you. Toby says, I'm not going anywhere. You and me till the end, right? Min says, always. But where are we? This isn't right. This is like... Suddenly the screen flickers again, and the two of them are standing hand in hand in the middle of Goldfield. In the modern time, just like they left it. Toby says, what do you mean, Min? We're home. Min says, oh, that's right. I think I'm losing it, Toby. Toby just says, you're just having one of those days, Min. We all get them. Min says, it's just, something feels so wrong. It's like a gut feeling, you know? Where is everyone? The town's empty. Toby says, empty? No. Look, Min, they're right behind you. After all, it is Christmas. The screen flickers again. Min turns around and we see a buffet table laid out with all sorts of holiday foods. A beautiful Christmas tree and lights strung everywhere. It's beautiful. And everyone she's ever loved there is there. Her friends, her mom. And in the middle of them all, standing in the front of the crowd, is her father. Just like she remembered him. And Min begins to cry. She says, Dad? Toby says, of course, Min. Your dad wouldn't miss out on Christmas, would he? Go on. Min walks over to him as tears flow from her eyes. She still doesn't believe it. He's been gone for... She can't remember. But it's been a long time. Then she finally reaches him. She looks up at him. Her father says, my little Min Sing, all grown up. You know I love you more than the moon loves the sun. She wraps him up in a hug. I miss you so much. Min's father laughs. It's only been a few weeks, Min, but I'm glad to know college hasn't changed my little girl too much. He looks past her at Toby and says, so that's him, huh? The boyfriend. She says, yeah, this is him, Dad. This is Toby, the best man I ever met. Toby smiles at her, and behind him we can see octopus tentacles creeping underneath his skin, puppeteering him. The sudden, beautiful illusion is pulled away, and we see that endless black void of nothing but Min standing alone. But she doesn't even seem to notice. She continues to smile and laugh, talking to no one. She comes back up to Toby and takes his hand again, and they begin to dance. She looks at his face as he smiles. We're going to smash cut from that smile to Toby's dead corpse laying in the mud. His eyes are glazed over, and blood runs over his nose and lips. He sinks deeper into that deep mud. With all the other soldiers lost in the war, another casualty, forgotten. And in the distance, we see Min floating, tentacles beginning to writhe out of her back made of ethereal energy. She turns into the distance and holds her hand out, and a portal begins to open up, triangular, glowing green lights, and beyond it a black void filled with swirling tentacles, something unknowingly heinous, something horrible. The Reach. Yep, so welcome to our third act twist villain, who is of course Reach herself. I planned this the whole time, and I've been keeping this in my back pocket for a long time, and I'm so excited to finally reveal the third part of this script, which I will be entitling the third act, The Reach Unleashed. I said it on the poster, and I've said it several times. The Get Out guys are fucked. Let's go into that outro.
Oh yeah, I did that. I purposely introduced someone I knew would be a fan favorite character, only to kill them off in their first major movie appearance. You think I didn't know what I was doing to you? It was calculated. I am an evil elder god. I am an evil elder god of infinite power. I know exactly how to torment each and every one of you. So Merry Christmas. Your gift is the fact that I killed Terra Man. And if you think I'm done, you're gonna have a very, very unholly new year. Because that's only 1 down, 3 to go. Stew on that.
And we'll see you next time, when this Elder God finally breaks free and unleashes all of the things he wants to unleash, which bizarrely revolve around Dairy Queen. I've been really craving a dip cone. Just, or else. Anyway, like, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Leave a comment if I surprised you yet again. I'll see y'all then. What's up, guys? It's me, Bjorn, your favorite Elder God, and let me just be the first to say what a good day it is today. You know why? I'll tell you, because today is the day that I finally break free from my ethereal prison to wreak havoc upon the mortal world. That's right, my mortals. I'm coming for you. You best look out. Oh man, I finally finished this damn script. My Beetlejuice bindings are done. And you guys, oh, you're not ready for what's coming. I've already got plans. You see this Pac-Man shirt? Yeah, I've been stringing along this hot chick by catfishing her, and the first thing I'm gonna do is show up to the date with no pants on and a Pac-Man t-shirt. And that's just the beginning of my reign of terror. As an Elder God, my evil knows no bounds, and that Dairy Queen, don't think I forgot. I'm coming. Best look out. Yes. Well, I guess we should just get this over with, right? You know, no time like the present to free myself from these infernal chains that you guys keep locking me into. Let's just go for it. I give y'all the finale for the Get Out Guys 2. We're going to pick up right where the last episode left off. They were in the middle of a battle in World War II, in the mud, in the barbed wire. Reach has completely lost her mind and has fully been engulfed. Captain WW2 was just ripped apart and had almost every bone in his body broken. We see Min, now fully consumed by the Reach, float up above the battlefield. It's chaos down below her. Men kill each other, some Germans, some Americans, some French, some British, you know, everyone's there. It's World War II, you know. I don't know what battle this is, but it doesn't really matter. And she hovers there for a moment. Her lips curl up into a sinister smile. There's something so evil about it. And then an airplane comes down, flying right towards her. Min simply turns to look at it, holds her hand out, and it plummets straight down as if all the wind traction underneath it is gone. It slams into the ground, and we follow its sort of swirling descent. It smashes into the ground right next to Mindboggler and Eraser, and the sheer impact of it throws them both back. We see Eraser slam into the side of a wooden building of some sort, like a concrete building that was sort of like half destroyed by the battle. Mindboggler rolls into the mud next to him and almost immediately is able to get back up to her feet. We can see some cuts across her face. Eraser doesn't get up. She rushes over to him, shaking him. She says, "Hey, are you okay?" He looks up at her groggy, his eyes out of focus. He holds his hand up to his head. He holds his hand up to his head and says, "I think I hit my head. Ugh, that hurts." We see it sort of from his perspective. We'll say like Mindboggler looks really like blurry, like there's like 2 or 3 of her kind of laxing over. He's clearly concussed. She helps him up to his feet and says, "We gotta get out of here." We can still see bullets and mortar shells exploding around them. Soldiers start to look up at Min, noticing her for the first time as she's just down one of their aircraft, and both sides begin to fire on her. As they do, she begins to unleash full hell. She begins to rip them apart one by one, crushing them under the weight of gravity, smashing entire fields of the battle. She crushes a tank with her bare hands as it tries to fire a shell at her. She maneuvers through the air, dodging bullets and killing men. It's an unbelievable showing of death and chaos. In the middle of it all, we see Rainbow Man struggling through the battle. He forms a shield out of rainbow, but the color seems mostly red as he pulls from the blood of the dead soldiers. He blocks bullets with the shield, a German soldier, then forms a spear from rainbow and throws it right at him, pinning the man through the chest with a spear of rainbow. He fights his way to where we see Mirror Master leaning up against the stone where he was thrown earlier. Rainbow Man walks up to him in the chaos and goes, "Oh, aren't you a Cypher Sora? He trails off as we see that Mirror Master's entire skull is caved in by the rock. He's dead, cold, and his eyes stare up blank at nothing. Ironically, his eyes are reflective now as they're glazed over. Urume says, "Holy fucking shite." He begins to climb back up to his feet. In the distance, he sees Eraser and Mindboggler struggling across the battlefield. He cracks his neck and begins to make his way towards them, leaving Mirror Master's body behind in the mud. We're gonna cut to Jonah Hex, still alive, completely out of his element. Chaos all around him, war with technology he's never seen, aircraft he's never seen anything like flying overhead. It's complete hell for him, but he has his guns. As he fights through, he notices a couple of World War II villains. The Buddhist symbol that was appropriated by Mustache Man plastered plainly on their uniforms, a symbol he recognizes. A symbol that was worn by the man who just killed his grandson. His face twists up with rage, guilt at his own actions, and fury, and he pulls his revolvers and unleashes death. We see him move through the battlefield, killing World War II villains with his pistols, twirling them and firing headshots almost every time, right between the eyes. He's perfect. He dodges bullets, avoids shrapnel by throwing himself to the side when explosions go off, and moves like a blossom of death. He's much more vicious and violent than Terraman. Though they have the same power, they approach combat almost completely differently. Terraman's always holding back, not trying to kill. Jonah Hex is under no illusion. He puts men down and buries them. We're gonna cut back to Mindboggler and Eraser. They make their way to where we saw Captain WW2 get plummeted into the ground before. Mindboggler says, "He went down somewhere over here. We're almost there. I really hope this guy's alive." Eraser says, "He has to be. He's the only one who knows how to stop this." In the distance, we see the strange glowing triangle portal thing is still opening up, growing wider and wider. There, they find Captain WW2 villain pulling himself up from the mud. His jaw is still broken, but fixes itself as he stands, healing. He looks up at them. He says, "You." Mindboggler says, "Us." She holds up the time sphere. "How do I use this?" Captain WW2 looks at her with fury, all the anger he had for them returning. "No, you've ruined everything I've built, all of my plans, but I can still salvage this. I will save my brother, and you will not stand in my way." He begins to float off the ground, his broken bones snapping back into place. Mindboggler says, "Maybe I wasn't clear. I wasn't asking. I was telling. Tell me how to use this." The words echo in the air. Captain WW2 slumps forward mid-flight as if taken over, then begins to speak. "It is a code, a repeating sequence that must be matched in order 3 times to activate the device. The code is a series of pictographic Egyptian hieroglyphics." Mindboggler says, "Stop stalling. Give me the code." The words echo in the air. WW2 villain begins to thrash, but he continues to speak. "Snake, hawk, eye, snake, fish, goose, man, jackal." Eraser says, "Repeat that a few more times." We're going to cut back to the battlefield. We see Reach continuing to fly through the battlefield. She kills a World War II villain by hoisting him up and ripping him in two, pulling gravity onto either side of him. Her face is becoming more and more monstrous. Whatever humanity was there is slowly slipping away more and more by the second. Then she spots them. Mindboggler and Eraser, and in their hand, the time sphere. In front of them, WW2 villain. The Reach knows. It knows what they're doing. Fury takes her. We see Eraser standing there. He holds the time sphere. Captain WW2 villain lies crippled on the floor, completely controlled by Mindboggler's powers. Eraser says, "That's it. We can fix this. We can..." He's stopped in his tracks. He begins to float off the ground, held up. Mindboggler looks shocked. She's confused. She turns, and we see the Reach. She yells, "Stop!" The words echo, but Reach doesn't even seem to react. The Reach smiles and tilts her head to the side as if studying Eraser. She says, Look at you. Just a guy in a pencil suit. She thought you were a joke. I see it there in her mind. A little joke man in a pencil suit. Die. Like the meager insect you are. Eraser begins to scream as gravity pulls on him from two sides. He's being pulled taut, and it's going to kill him. Mindboggler screams, and then a gunshot. A bullet hits Reach right in the head. It hurts, and she lets out a scream. Eraser falls to the ground, and she turns. There, standing, we see Jonah Hex, gun in his hand, just like Terror Man before him. Rainbow Man scrambles up and to Eraser and helps him up. Did you get the fucking code? He says. Eraser says, yeah. Rainbow Man says, then what the fuck are you waiting for? Mindboggler locks eyes with Jonah Hex moments before he will inevitably die. He says, save him. Those are the only words he gets out before he's crushed to a pulp. We see Eraser flip the code into the time sphere. He turns all of its different angles. He's going to crack it, and then it's shoved out of his hand and it rolls into the mud, just beginning to glow blue. We see Captain WW2 Villain standing up, face full of fury, cut on his face healing. Mindboggler lost control of him. But she's not the only one who sees him. Reach does too. And when she realizes he's still alive, all of the fury she had for him, the man who killed her lover, comes back, and her eyes go feral. We see tentacles begin to slink from the portal, the triangular portal. They slither through the mud and begin to wrap around Captain WW2 Villain. He screams and he tries to fight and rip them apart, but there are too many. They begin to snag him, wrapping all around him. They begin to pull him towards the portal, dragging him. Despite all of his strength, 10, 20, 30 tentacles all wrapped around him. Eraser spares one final look back for Captain WW2 as he's pulled into the portal. He locks eyes with Captain WW2, and in those eyes we can see fear. He's terrified. After all of this, Captain WW2 Villain's last words slip from his lips. Eins. And then he's dragged into the portal, pulled into a Lovecraftian nightmare. His dreams, his goals shattered. Hundreds of tentacles start to swarm out of the portal. They grab soldiers that are, running around the battlefield, pulling corpses. The dream of ever saving his brother dies with Captain WW2. Eraser sees Rainbow Man grab the time sphere. He yells, hurry, use it! Rainbow Man says, fucking hell! Eraser says, hold your arm up and think of a time period. Get us home. Fuck, Rainbow Man says. Okay. He holds his hand up in the air. The time sphere explodes with blue light, and then the Get Out guys are spontaneously in a jungle. Thick underbrush and massive trees with fern-like leaves grow along them. Eraser looks around confused, then looks at Rainbow Man. Where the fuck did you send us? Mindboggler says, looks like the fucking Amazon. Rainbow Man says, I'll be honest, I kind of panicked a little bit. When you said think of a time, only one came to mind. Suddenly in the distance, we hear a deafening roar. Mindboggler says, the fuck is that? Eraser says, oh my god, don't tell me. Rainbow Man says, yeah. The camera pans out above the jungle canopy. In the distance, we see a massive volcano with pterodactyls flying in the sky. Text on screen says, Utah, 255 million years ago. Eraser says, you sent us to the fucking Jurassic. Rainbow Man says, look, I'm sorry, mate. I bloody panicked. Really liked dinosaurs as a kid. First thing that popped into my mind. You do have to admit, it's a little fucking cool. Eraser says, give me that. He takes the time spear from Rainbow Man. Mindboggler suddenly goes, oh, the Jurassic, like the movie. Eraser says, yeah, like the movie, except, not fake. Mindboggler says, wow, this is where the dinosaur lives. I can't believe we traveled 20,000 years into the past. That's crazy. Rainbow Man says, 255 million, actually. Because it's, Jurassic. Mindboggler says, whatever, nerd. We can see Eraser trying to activate the time sphere. He punches in the code correctly, but nothing happens. He says, it's not working. Mindboggler says, what? Why? Eraser says, I don't know. Maybe there's a cooldown time. There was a bit of a delay between me using it and the World War II villain. Well, we should be fine, right? We just gotta wait it out. We're a couple metahumans. We should be able to survive in the Jurassic on our own for a few minutes. Mindboggler says, not to mention we ditched the evil men back in World War II. As if on cue, we hear a scream. Not from a dinosaur, but from men. mostly inhuman, only a few traces of what was once her left in it. Eraser closes his eyes in desperation and says, Eraser closes his eyes in frustration. You just had to say something. She must have been within the range of the spear's power. We should run. Leia, take this. Keep trying the code till it... Oh. He holds a hand up to his head and then vomits on the ground. Mindboggler says, Eraser, what's wrong? I think when I hit my head, I think I fucking got a concussion. I can't see anything and everything feels like shit. He stumbles to the ground and holds a hand up to catch himself. Mindboggler comes to him and gives him a shoulder and hoists him up, helping him. We can't give up. Don't worry, I'll just keep trying the code. Eraser says, if she finds us, I have to, Eraser, or we're fucked. You're the only other one who knows the code. You can do this. I believe in you. Mindboggler blushes and nods. Remember says, alright, let's go. Keep your eyes peeled. There's all kinds of crazy shit around here. As they begin to walk through the jungle, away from where we heard Min scream, but towards the initial roar they heard. We're gonna cut to Reach. We see her hovering above the prehistoric jungle. The bodies of a couple smaller theropods lie bloody on the ground around her. In front of her, a theropod floats in the air thrashing. We push in to Reach's face. It's covered in blood and mud. Her features are twisted, almost fish-like now. Her strange, octopus-like eyes narrow. She smiles, revealing the angular fish-like teeth that now make up her mouth. We see the theropod begin to snap, its back cracking, its bones snapping and shattering, its bloody body falling to the ground. She turns and looks off into the distance, smells the air, and then begins to fly in that direction, as if she can smell them. We keep moving through the jungle. We see Rainbow Man, Eraser, and Mindboggler continuing their trek. Eraser is still leaning against Mindboggler for support. We also see a massive millipede climb up a tree in the distance, and a few pterodactyls flying overhead. We see Mindboggler continuing to try the code with her free hand, but it's not working. Suddenly, Rainbow Man puts his hand up. They come out into the middle of an opening in the field. Then suddenly, Rainbow Man puts his hand up. He says, "Don't panic, but there's something in the trees on the other side of us." Eraser whispers, "You can't tell us that. Expect us not to fucking panic." He says, "Fucking look." We see through Eraser's vision, it's still blurry. Images coming in and out of focus. He tries to shake his hair clean. He shakes his head clean, then looks again. And there, standing at the edge of the tree line, standing motionless and watching them from the shadows, is a full-sized Tyrannosaurus Rex. Rainbow Man says, "The kid version of me would have just shit his pants." Mindboggler says, "What the fuck are we gonna do?" The T-Rex begins to stand up. It's clearly preparing for an ambush. Eraser pushes himself off of Mindboggler's shoulders and says, "The only thing we can do. I've got to erase it." He tries to take a step forward, then stumbles and falls to the ground. Rainbow Man looks at him and smiles faintly. He says, "Oh, mate, you ain't in any condition to do that." Eraser says, "What the fuck else are we gonna do?" Rainbow Man smiles and says, "You fix this shit. You set the timeline right, and you bring me fucking back." A shield of rainbow begins to form in his hand and a sword in his other. "Oh man, this is gonna be fucking awesome," he says. He takes 2 steps forward and charges the T-Rex. It lets out a billowing roar and stomps towards him. Rainbow Man and the T-Rex begin to fight each other. Mindboggler watches and says, "That is literally the coolest thing I've ever seen." The two of them take off, not so much running as in stumbling in the opposite direction, leaving Rainbow Man behind to sacrifice himself to battle a fucking T-Rex, which is just something I had to do in a time travel movie. You can't have a time travel movie and not have someone fight a T-Rex. We see Rainbow Man slice across its leg with his shield. The T-Rex tries to bite him, but he holds up his slice across its leg with his sword. The T-Rex lets out a deafening scream and then tries to bite him. He holds up his shield, making it larger, and catches the T-Rex's mouth over his hand with the shield. He grows spikes out of the side of it, which stick out through the T-Rex's roof of its mouth. The T-Rex lets go of the shield and lets out another billowing scream, whipping its tail around and smacking into Rainbow Man, who's tossed to the ground. He rolls back up to his feet,
clearly hurt, and says, "Come the fuck on, you bloody big lizard!" An even bigger spear forms out of Rainbow in his hand, and he goes right back into the fight. We see Eraser and Mindboggler working through the jungle. Mindboggler tries to punch in the code, and it begins to glow. She says, "Holy shit." She keeps coming through the code. Then, all of a sudden, Reach appears hovering over the trees. "There you are," she says. Mindboggler says, "Fuck!" She holds the time spear up above her head, and in an instant there's a flash of light, and they vanish. They reappear in the middle of a street. For those who have seen the Mindboggler short, this is a town you're going to recognize. Under pressure, there was only one place she could truly think of. The place that had once been her home, if you wanted to call it that. Green Rock, Alabama. The street where Leia grew up and where the Mindboggler was born. They stand in the middle of the road. It's empty. As a storm is arriving in the near distance, we see lightning flashing. In front of them, the Reach stands. It lets out a screaming wail, thrashing about, as if the time jump fucks with the Lovecraftian spirit's connection to the other plane. It writhes around on the floor, and for instances we can almost see glimpses of Min there. It's a brief respite before she's awake. Mindboggler says, "We have to fucking kill her." Eraser says, "How?" "I'm not exactly operating on 100% here." Mindboggler says, "I'm gonna control her. I'm gonna hold her down." Eraser says, "You tried that, it didn't work." Mindboggler says, "I can do it. I have to. And when I hold her, you've got to erase her. It's the only way." Eraser says, "Yeah, easier said than done." Mindboggler nods. "Easier said than done." Then suddenly, the Reach seems to recover. It floats slightly above the ground and looks up at them, and it smiles. Mindboggler says, "Stop. Stand still." The words echo, slamming into the Reach. Instead of the Reach being knocked off balance, it appears to be Mindboggler. She takes a staggering step back and holds a hand to her head. "Thousands, thousands," she says. "There's thousands of them in there." The Reach begins to smile and then turns to look at Eraser, wary. It holds up a hand, and we can see gravity begin to force its way onto him. He's being crushed. Mindboggler says, "Stop!" This time louder. The words echo. Blood begins to run from her nose. Then we're going to hard cut to Min. Not evil Min, but normal Min. She's still at her Christmas party with Terraman. The two of them take a walk behind their house in Goldfield, leaving the party, air quote, behind. Terraman says, "You know, it was really nice to get to meet your dad and all." Reach says, "Yeah?" And he goes, "Yeah, he's a really great guy, and, you know, there's this question I've been meaning to ask him, and now that I have, well, I get to ask you one in turn." She says, "What?" He stops and bends to one knee and then holds up a ring. He says, "Min, the best day of my life was meeting you. Every day since it's been, I don't know. Every day since has been better for it. And I knew from the moment you came back from me in that prison that I was going to marry you. It wasn't even a question. I've just been waiting for the right chance, and I think this is it. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Here in Goldfield, together with all your family forever. Just think about it, Min. We could be so happy. So what do you say? Will you marry me?" He holds out the ring, lifting it open. To her, he looks like Terraman, as we remember him. But as the camera pans out of her perspective, we can see the tentacles writhing, holding up him like a puppet. The illusion of Terraman in her head. It's not real. None of it is real. And then we see Mindboggler suddenly appear next to them. The screen shakes more and more and everything becomes doubled. Min says, "Leia?" Mindboggler says, "Oh, you can see me. Min, you've got to stop. You're going to kill him." Min says, "What? Who?" Mindboggler says, "Eraser. You're killing him right now." Toby steps up next to Min. He looks sad. He says, "Oh, Min, she's relapsed again. The drugs. Doesn't even know where she is. I think it's time for her to leave." Suddenly, Mindboggler disappears again from the illusion. Min looks startled. She turns and looks at Toby, and in for that quick moment, she sees it.
the tentacles writhing through his skin. Toby looks at her, noticing her smile fade. All the happiness of the moment gone. She sees the illusion. Toby says, "Oh, unfortunate." He smiles, revealing sharp, angular fish-like teeth. "We're gonna have to restart again." Tentacles begin to writhe out of Terra Man's back, swirling towards Min, creeping towards her, crawling along the ground and slithering through the air. We're going to cut back to the real world. We see Eraser being slowly crushed by the force of gravity. His legs wobble and his hand outstretches towards Reach. He's close to her, but not nearly close enough. His hand shakes in the air under the strain of gravity. He starts to scream in pain as his legs are on the verge of breaking, and if they do, there'll be nothing to stop her from crushing him. Mindbuckler continues to fight to reach into her mind, to take control of her. Her eyes briefly settle on Eraser's, and he sees it. He says, "I can't take much more." Mindboggler says, "I'm trying, but there's thousands of them in there. It's horrible." And with that, Eraser looks resigned, like he knows he's going to die. He will, unless Mindboggler doubles her efforts. And that gives her strength, because she won't let him die. Not like this. Mindboggler yells, "Stop! You stop it!" The words echo more than we've ever heard them echo 100 times, 1,000 times. They seem to launch sound waves in the air that we can visibly see, and they slam into Reach like a physical force, and the pressure of it. And then we see the pressure on Eraser ease slightly. The real Min lets out an inhuman scream, and Eraser manages to take a shaky step towards her, reaching his hand out to erase her. Mindboggler once more yells, "Stop!" We're going to cut into Min's mind. Min screams as tentacles begin to flow towards her. Then suddenly Mindboggler reappears. She holds a hand out towards Toby and says, "Stop!" The force slams him back into a cliff wall, and he's held there. The creature that is the Reach screams and hisses, tentacles flailing around it. Min stops and looks at Mindboggler. Min's eyes grow wide with horror. "It has me, doesn't it? Like my father. It has me." Tears begin to fall down from her cheeks. Mindboggler says, "You're hurting us, hurting people. I have to stop you, to stop it." Min says, "Toby, he's dead, isn't he? I knew, but I thought." Mindboggler nods. Reach says, "How could I forget?" Mindboggler says, "We have the time sphere. We can bring him back, but we can't if you keep doing this." Min says, "It's strong, Leia. Stronger than I ever do. You have to be careful. It's evil." Mindboggler says, "I've never done this before. I've only ever been able to manipulate minds. I've never entered one like this, but I think I can stop it long enough for Eraser to reach you, and then you'll be gone." Min nods. "It's okay, but you fix it. Make it so he never dies. Save him, please." Mindboggler says, "I promise." Toby opens his mouth where he's pinned to the cliff. "Promise. You learn nothing before their Reach. Worms, lesser things. You will not contain us any longer. Your vessel will not hold us. We will be free." As he speaks, writhing tentacles flow from his mouth. We're going to cut to the real world. Eraser grows closer. His hand is almost able to touch her. Min's strange octopus eyes lock onto him. She almost seems to double her effort against him. He screams and fights. Her lips curl. "Only a man in a pencil suit. Only a man who's so weak that they laughed at you." Then suddenly her eyes return to normal. She looks up for a moment and smiles. We can physically see the moment the gravity is relieved from him. He's able to walk stumbling forward. He sees the change in her eyes and says, "Min?" She kind of nods and says, "I'm sorry I hurt you. You were so brave, but it's okay. Do it. Hurry. Save him. Please, I'm nothing without him." Eraser says, "I'm so sorry." Min says, "It's all right. I want this." He reaches out and touches her. For a quick moment, tears leak from her eyes, and Min trembles with fear. After it all, she's still scared to die. But it's only a moment, and then she vanishes into a puff of brilliant blue light. Erased. Eraser collapses to his knees, panting. He says, "Holy shit." Then Mindboggler runs up and hugs him. He hesitates at first, then hugs her back. She says, "We did it." Eraser says, Yeah, we did it." The two stop hugging, and Eraser looks around. He says, "This isn't Metropolis. Where are we?" Mindboggler says, "It's my home. It's Green Rock, Alabama." Eraser says, "Oh." And Mindboggler looks around at the storm clouds in the distance. "I know what day this is, too. Only one I could think of in the heat of the moment." She begins to walk down the street, and Eraser follows after her. "Where are you going?" Mindboggler says, "There's something I have to see. I'll be quick." Eraser says, "All right, but we have to be careful. We're still in the past." Mindboggler says, "I know." They move past the theater, and we see a poster for a movie called Caraman Legends, a movie that shouldn't exist. An ominous version of the Time Sphere score begins to play. In the distance, thunder rumbles from an approaching storm. Mindboggler approaches a little church made out of stone with a white roof. We recognize it from the Mindboggler short. The place where she begged for help. We cut to the inside of the church, and we see past Leia get down on her knees in front of the cross. We see a large marble statue of Jesus Christ hanging from the cross. He wears a crown of thorns, and blood runs down his cheeks. We see tears in his eyes. Leia says, "I've never prayed before. I'm not even sure I'm doing this right, but I just can't take it anymore. They just won't leave me alone. I've tried everything. They just won't stop. So I'm going to ask you for help. I just want to be like them. I want to laugh and have friends. I want what everyone else has. Please, God, help me. Please, give me something. Something to help me make friends. Something to make me normal." Tears fall from her eyes as she waits, but nothing seems to happen. In the background, we hear thunder rumble in the distance. Leia looks around the church for something, and when it doesn't come, she stands. She wipes the tears from her eyes and turns to leave the church in a hurry. We get a shot of the marble statue of Jesus Christ hanging on the cross. Lightning flashes, illuminating it in the darkness. And as Leia turns, she finds herself face to face with Eraser and Mindboggler from the future. She stops. Eraser says, "This is a bad idea." Mindboggler says, "It'll be fine." Leia says, "You're me?" Mindboggler says, "Something like that." Leia asks, "Did God send you?" Mindboggler laughs. "Yeah, let's go with that. I just wanted to tell you that it's going to be okay. I know how mean they are to you. I know all the things they do to you, but you will be fine. You'll be stronger." Leia says, "How? I hate them. I just want them to. I want them to stop, no matter how." When she looks up, there's a darkness to her eyes. Darkness we haven't seen in Leia's for a long time. Mindboggler says, "I know, but what you're thinking is not the way. You have to be better than them. Trust me. Find the right people, and the world will be yours, kid. They're out there. You just gotta look for them." Mindboggler turns to look at Eraser and smiles. "And they'll help you. It doesn't have to be this way. There's a better way." Past Leia begins to sob. She falls to her knees again. She says, "Thank you." Mindboggler hugs her tight, probably the first time she's ever been hugged in her whole life. She says, "You're loved, even if you don't see it." Then she lets go and turns to Eraser. "Let's go." We see past Leia still sobbing on the floor of the church, the vestige of Christ above her. Salvation, hope, maybe something better. A version of Mindboggler whose prayers were answered. As they leave the church, Eraser says, "That was dangerous." Mindboggler says, "I know, but I needed to do it. We're gonna undo it anyway. It won't have happened." Eraser says, "Yeah, that was what I always wanted to hear," Mindboggler says. "I wanted to know that it was okay, that I would be loved and cared for one day, that anyone would even want me to be around, that I could have friends or something more." Eraser says, "Do you feel that way now?" Mindboggler smiles. "I do. Now let's save the others. They're kind of assholes, but there are assholes." She enters the code into the time sphere, and it begins to glow. She hoists it up above her head, and they disappear into a puff of light for the last time. They reappear on the streets of Metropolis. The streets are busy with people moving back and forth. The modern world. Eraser lets out a sigh of relief. He checks his watch. He says, "Come on, we've got about an hour and a half before we take the job. If we talk them out of it, none of this shit ever happens, and everything will go back to normal." They begin to move through the streets towards Rainbow Man's apartment. Mindboggler says, "Yeah, about that. What happens to us when we undo the past?" Eraser says, "We would have never gone back in time, and the timeline will correct. The others won't die." Mindboggler shakes her head. "No, I mean to us, you and me. If we never go back, we don't exist, right? You know, like Back to the Future." Eraser says, "I thought you never saw it." Mindboggler says, "I may have seen it once or twice. I was a lonely kid. Spent a lot of time in movie theaters alone. I didn't want you to think I just didn't want you to think I was nerdy. But I think you're avoiding the question." Eraser says, "You got me. I mean, I don't know exactly, but I think we'll just fade away. We will have never existed. The fact that we're still here means that the timeline hasn't shifted enough to undo our time travel." As they walk, we begin to see people stop and stare at them. After all, they're covered in blood and dirt and their clothes are torn. Mindboggler says, "So we'll die?" Eraser says, "Yeah, but we'll also live. A version of us. The others will come back too." Mindboggler says, "Then we'll save them. It's what's right." Eraser says, "Yeah, it is. You really have turned a new leaf. I'm proud of you, Leia. Also, liking Back to the Future isn't nerdy. It's cool. And I also spent a lot of time in theaters alone, so I know how you feel." Mindboggler blushes, but then, as she looks away from him, notices even more people staring. Some of them have just stopped to stare and look at them. Mindboggler says, "Are you getting a bad vibe right now?" Eraser says, "Yeah, a bit, but we do look like shit." Mindboggler says, "Yeah, maybe that's it." Eraser says, "We're here anyway." The apartment looms overhead. They enter the building. Its front desk is empty and dirty as usual. They work their way up the stairs until they reach Rainbow Man's floor and apartment. They knock. No one answers. Eraser shrugs, then touches the door, erasing it. They enter a dark apartment. Mindboggler flips the lights on to reveal the room. It's much like we remember it, except it's covered in dust and cobwebs. Insects crawl under the furniture in the new lights to escape from vision. We see rotting food left on the table, covered in flies and mold. Mindboggler says, "What the fuck?" Eraser says, "Something is wrong here." Mindboggler says, "Yeah, no shit. This place looks like no one's been here in years. Rainbow Man's place was always a shithole, but this..." Eraser says, "So if Rainbow Man isn't living here, then somehow we altered the location of where we decided to take the job." Mindboggler says, "How do I find that?" "I don't know." Suddenly Mindboggler stops. "Look, I have a really bad feeling. Like, we should leave now." Eraser says, "All right." We cut to them leaving the front of the apartment. A crowd of people surrounds it. They all just stare, forming a full semicircle around the front of the building. Eraser says, "What the fuck?" Mindboggler says, "Come on." She grabs his arm and runs into an alley, pulling him along. All the people just stare at them as they leave the alley. They continue to stare, just following them with their eyes, not even moving. They run out of the alley until they enter the middle of a massive city center. There in the center of town is a massive marble statue, at least 90 feet tall, perfectly carved. It shows a woman in a fur coat. Mindboggler looks up at it and says, "Oh no." Before we can see it in detail, a dart sinks into Eraser's skin. Only, it doesn't get erased like it should. He screams and begins to convulse. A second dart hits him and he continues to cry out and spaz on the ground. He's being electrified, and it's painful. Mindboggler tries to help him as two people approach them. One is Black Spider. He swings down from a rooftop and climbs down the side of a building, landing on the ground. The other one steps out of an alley from the dark corner. A man we know, Clock King. a man who should be dead and rotting. His ominous ticking villain theme begins to play as he steps towards them. Mindboggler turns from Eraser to them. She says, "Stop!" The words echo in the air, but they keep coming, ignoring her command. "Stop! Cease! Kill each other!" All the words echo in the air, but nothing happens. Clock King lifts his pistol, his glasses coming up reflecting clock hands, and he fires. We see a dart hit her in the chest. She feels her legs go out from underneath her and falls to the ground. The time spear rolls from her hand and stops at the foot of Clock King. He bends over to pick it up. A more sinister version of the time sphere theme begins to play. The scream fades out as Mindboggler loses consciousness to whatever's in the dart. The camera fades in, and we open on the shot of the inside of a building. The building is clearly the inside of the Hall of Justice. We can see like the mural of heroes. I'm going to go for the Superman design. I'm going to try to kind of retrofit my universe just for my own headcanon vaguely into that Superman universe, just because it's easier for the sake of clarity. As far as the way things look visually, obviously the characters are very different. Strange black and white banners, however, hang from the ceiling. They weren't there before. We see Eraser stand up. He's still swaying a bit, and there's sort of scars from electricity up the side of his face. He says, "Oh shit, what is going on?" He turns and looks at Mindboggler. She's still asleep on the floor of the hall. He shakes her, and her eyes kind of half open, still a little bit drunk from the dart. She said, "Danger. We're in danger. It's no, Mia. Trouble." Eraser says, "I need you to snap out of it." Suddenly we hear a whooshing sound. We hear the sound of glass shatter. And we see Superman fly through the roof. He slams into the ground in front of them, leaving a crater as he lands. And his theme begins to play triumphantly. He takes a few steps up and smiles at them. Eraser says, "Oh, thank God. Superman, you have to help us. I know we're usually the assholes in these sorts of situations, but not this time, and something really bad is happening." Superman ignores them. Instead, he walks towards the center of the room, falls to his knees, and then gets on all fours and just sits there. In the dark hall beyond, we hear footsteps echoing. Mindboggler finally sits up. She's still loopy, but she's sentient enough to understand. She turns to tell Eraser what she's been trying to say. "It's me. I'm the one who did this." As soon as the words leave her mouth, we see Mindboggler step out of the shadowed hall. She wears a gilded fur coat and a fancy shirt with the letters MB emblazoned on them. On her head, she wears a golden crown. This is the new version of Mindboggler, which I'm going to refer to for the rest of the script as Empress Mindboggler. She stops in front of Superman and just stares at them. She smiles and takes a seat on his back as if it's a chair. She says, "Sorry for the delay. I had to wait for my throne to arrive. I guess a little more waiting couldn't hurt. You know how long I've been waiting for you to come back?" She holds up the time sphere. "So this is how you did it, huh? Fascinating. I had my nerds look into it. It's from an ancient Egyptian tomb of Hecatep. I even know the code to use it. Alas, I don't think I'll be needing it. I have everything I need right here, and the past holds nothing for me. I despise it." She holds her hand out, and the flash appears out of nowhere. He takes the spear and then vanishes into a puff of light. Eraser says, "What the fuck?" Empress Mindboggler says, "This must be overwhelming for you, I understand. I have to say I owe you to a debt of gratitude. You made this all possible. World peace under me." Mindboggler says, "What are you talking about?" Empress Mindboggler says, "The plan. What you told me back then. I knew what you meant, and I understood the message. Find the right people and the world would be mine. Don't do it like this. I could be so much more. I understood, and you were right. A few politicians there, some new telecasters here. It was surprisingly easy, you know. I don't know if you know this, but our powers work through radio and television. As long as they hear our voice, they'll do anything we say. It took a little bit of time, but we got them all. I was surprised by the extent of our powers, just like you." Eraser says, "We?" A man appears from behind a pillar. He steps beside her. He wears a yellow suit. However, it's expensive, professional, and lined with gold. His hair is styled nicely, and he looks confident, almost more attractive than our eraser by virtue of his style. Empress Mindboggler says, "You were right. Find the good ones." And he was a good one. I knew his face, and I sought him out. So much like us, our soulmate. My emperor. Mindboggler says, "You're controlling them all. It's fucking disgusting. You have to stop." Empress Mindboggler looks shocked, but Eraser steps up to her defense. "Not all of them. She never controlled me. Some of us share her vision for a world without war, a world of peace. We remain free." Empress Mindboggler says, "The world is now a place where kids like me will never be tormented again. I thought long and hard about what to do when you came back. I'm sorry, but there was only really one option. There can only be one Empress. Just know I'm sorry. I owe you everything. And it pains me to do this, but it must be done. For the sake of our world and our vision of a better tomorrow, you must be the past." Eraser jumps up and tries to erase her with his hand outreached, but he's too slow. Empress Mindboggler says, "Stop." The words echo in the air, and he does. Emperor Eraser slowly walks up to him. A crown of gold rests upon his head, too. He says, "Goodbye, duplicate. Pale imitation." He touches Eraser, and Eraser vanishes into a puff of blue light. Mindboggler screams in horror as he vanishes. Tears begin to stream down her cheeks. She says, "What have you done?" Empress Mindboggler says, "This isn't personal, but it's for the best. We have created a utopia here. You can die knowing you made the world better. Few have that luxury." Mindboggler says, "It isn't better. You're just enslaving them, torturing them." Empress Mindboggler again looks surprised. She seems to think she and Mindboggler are on the same page. "It's all they ever gave us. They are the monsters, not us. And if you can't see that, then maybe we aren't the same. I thought you were something else. I hope you find happiness in what comes next. Do it." Eraser steps up to her, touches her, and she vanishes. We're going to cut to see Mindboggler sit up covered in sand. She holds a hand up to her to look towards the sky. We see a sun beating overhead above them, high overhead. She says, "What the fuck?" She looks over and sees Eraser standing there, just looking around in shock. Eraser turns to look at her and says, "What do we do?" Mindboggler says, "I think I fucked up. I thought, I didn't know, I didn't think." Eraser says, I know. This is why we don't mess with the past, right?" Mindboggler nods her head. He looks around, Eraser looks around but sees nothing but desert. Maybe the occasional piece of rusty building or stone ruin. Eraser says, "You were erased. Is this hell?" Mindboggler says, "I don't think so. I think there'd be more fire." Okay, so maybe I don't really erase things so much as I send them here, where erased things go, but where the fuck are we? Mindboggler says, "I don't know, but we have to get back. We have to stop her. I mean, me. We have to stop me. We have to get the time machine. We have to get the time sphere back and fix this. We're the only ones who can. We're the only ones who know." Eraser nods. Suddenly, another dart slicks into Mindboggler's neck. She looks surprised. She plucks it out of her neck and looks at it and says, "Not again." She falls over. Eraser runs to her, then looks up. We see two men step out of the desert. They seem to just appear from the sand. One of them carries a rifle over his shoulder. They wave to him as they approach. "Hello there. Sorry about that. Sorry about your friend. If she's your friend. You see, she's a Mindboggler. We've got a protocol for ones like her. Tag and bag before she can speak. I promise you you'll be safe, but she is dangerous." Eraser takes a couple steps back, looking concerned, confused. One of the men bends down next to Mindboggler and pulls out a ball gag, puts it into her mouth and pulls it tight. Eraser is even more confused. The second knight walks up to him. "It's just protocol, friend. We're usually a lot more approachable, but we couldn't risk her controlling us, you see," and then he trails off. Says, "We should introduce ourselves. I'm First Knight Gurnet of Erasure, This is Knight General of Eraser, Sander. We really are friendlier than this usually. As he approaches Eraser, he suddenly stops what he's saying. He says, "Holy shit, it can't be." First Knight Grinnet pulls his gun from his holster and levels it at Eraser. It's an old-fashioned looking gun, maybe something from the 1930s. The other man, Knight General Sander, says, "What are you doing?" Knight Grinnet says, "Look at him. He's an eraser." Though he's covered in mud and grime, the faint traces of the yellow suit and the facial features are there. The other knight says, "Oh man." He puts his hand on top of the gun and puts it down, lowering it so it's not aiming at Eraser anymore. He says, "No, that's not the code. Despite what he is, he will face trial like everyone else." First Knight Grinnet says, "But he's one of them." Knight General Sander says, "We follow the code of the first. Even for him, the gun goes away." The man does. Eraser says, "It wouldn't do anything, but I'm getting the feeling you know that." First Knight Grinnet says, "Actually, I think it would." He punches Eraser across the face. He doesn't disappear. Eraser falls to the sand. He holds his hand up to his nose and comes away with blood. It's the first time we've ever really seen him bleed. He says, "What?" First Knight Grinnet says, "Yeah, piece of shit. Can't erase anything here. And nowhere. Can't erase anything here. Nowhere for it to go." He pulls handcuffs and clamps them onto Eraser's arms as he lays stunned on the ground. We see the Knight General hold a walkie-talkie up to his ear like a radio. It says, "Overwatch, be advised. We've got 2 live ones. Code Black and a code Yellow." We hear a statically voice come over the radio. "Did you say code Yellow?" The Knight General Sander says, "You heard right. First Knight Grinnet, get his readings." The first knight pulls some kind of strange device from his belt. It almost looks like a Geiger counter, but it's clearly different. It lights up and makes a few beeping noises. We see a reading of random numbers and letters appear on the screen. The first knight says, "Holy shit." He pulls his own radio and clicks the button. "Overwatch, you're not going to believe this. This one's yours." A static voice comes over once more. "Copy." There's a slight delay. Then a force slams down to the sand from the air. In the wake of the sort of sand settling, we see a man look like he's wearing a metal suit stand up. What was once solidly red and white has been replaced with scrap metal and spare parts. All the same, we recognize Red Rocket. He just stares at Eraser. He says, "We follow the codes. We take him to Erasure." We're going to get a quick montage of them moving across the desert and eventually into a more temperate-looking grassland. We see a massive Japanese-style stone city. It's beautiful, and it climbs up a mountain that seems to appear from nowhere, completely out of place in the biome where it is. Red Rocket lifts his mask and looks at Eraser and the now awake Leia with her ball gag. He looks mostly the same as we remember him, although his face is harder, more drawn lines, and a few new scars. He looks like he's been seeing combat the whole time he's been here. Red Rocket says, "Welcome to the lost city of Yamatai, or as we call it, Erasure, a city for the erased, victims of your monstrous deeds." He stops, takes a deep breath of the fresh air as if in immense satisfaction. "You're going to die here." They reach the front of the gate and a man comes to greet them. He looks like a mix of a Mad Max character and a pirate, complete with a pirate hat and a half-shredded pennycoat. The Knight General says, "Charlie, open the gates. We have a code Yellow and code Black." Charlie says, "You're kidding." Knight General Sander says, "Am I usually one to kid?" Charlie says, "No. Take him before the retainer." And then, who is obviously Cutlass Charlie, pulls his classic cutlass from beneath his cloak. It seems to glow with a radiant light like the sun. The very sword of the sun, the blade of Amaterasu I talked about in that short I did for him. It changes shape, transforming itself into a katana, and he sticks it into a slot in the front of the gate. He turns it and opens it like a key, and the grand gates to Yamatai begin to open up. We see Eraser and Mindboggler being dragged inside. The gates shut, and we linger on them for a while before fading to black.
Text on screen says, the Get Out guys will return in the Get Out guys out of options. So this is a plotline I've been waiting to do for a long time. I set up Erasure at the end of the first movie, and it's one of my favorite concepts I've invented for the Get Out guys. This whole society of people who have been erased by Eraser. And obviously, as we'll learn in that script, they have ways of escaping wherever they are to attempt to kill erasers. They're highly trained specifically at the job of killing erasers, and I think that's super fun. And we'll get to kind of see more of that in the next movie, which will focus majority on these guys. So we do have 2 after credit scenes. So the first one is going to be pretty straightforward. We're going to see shots of the desert. The camera moves back and back and back until we see a couple of men lying on the ground with brushes and shovels. They're digging up the remains of a dinosaur. One of them is smoking a cigarette. He says, "It's a tyrannosaur. Check by the femur." Another paleontologist says, "Yeah, it's the right shape and build. Pretty complete one too. This one's in good shape." The guy, he nods. And then one of the other paleontologists says, "Guys, you should look at this." They approach as he brushes away the remnants of a human skull. What's left of Rainbow Man? And they say, "That can't be. It's settlement suspicion, right? The layers are mixed together. This guy must be Paleolithic or something." But then they brush it away further, and they can see that the T-Rex's jaws are clearly wrapped around his hand. Holy shit. I mean, this shouldn't be possible. We see them getting X-ray scans of the ground and looking at them on a TV screen. We can see the clear remnants of a human being, devoured by this T-Rex. They've clearly killed each other in combat. The one paleontologist has his hand in his head, and the other one is looking at it with unbelief. He says, "This is going to rewrite science, history, religion, fucking everything. I mean, how do you even explain this?" And the guy says, "I don't know." We see one other man. He's watching TV behind them. He suddenly stops and says, "Guys, you should come watch this." The men say, "We're busy right now, John. Can't even believe you're not looking at this. I mean, this is the most groundbreaking discovery of all time." The man simply repeats, "Guys, you should come watch this." The two paleontologists say, "John, are you okay?" They get up and walk over to him, and we see what's on the TV for the first time. Mindboggler sits in a chair, a banner with MB written on it behind him. She says over and over again, words echoing, "You are under my control. You do as I say. Make others watch. Make them watch." The two paleontologists' eyes grow wide. They slump for a second, then they get up. They turn and walk out of the tent. We can see them bringing in 2 other paleontologists. They point to the TV screen, and the message repeats. End of the after credit scene. The second after credit scene, we see Min. Her eyes squeeze, her eyes open, tears falling. Eraser reaches towards her and then touches her. She disappears into a puff of light and reappears in the middle of the desert. She falls to the ground in the sand and looks up. Her human features and her eyes are gradually taken back over by the reach. She floats up, lets out a scream of anger, and looks around their new environment, clearly confused. We can see for the first time that the Reach has also made it to Skitarius, the land of the erased, and they've done it 15 years before Eraser and Mindboggler arrived. And that's where we're going to end our script.
Oh yes, nothing more diabolical than ending my series on a cliffhanger, knowing I'm never going to write a 3rd movie because I'm no longer bound. That way you'll forever be unsatisfied. Hold on guys, I'm getting a text message from my side chick, elder gods like me, we keep many women on the hook just because we're evil. It says, write the Get Out Guys 3, write the Get Out Guys 3, write the Get Out Guys 3. Oh shit! No! Oh my god.
I knew it. I fucking knew it. I knew she had to be fake. There was no way that there just happened to be a 40-million-year-old single mother, elder god in my neighborhood, and that she wanted to hook up with me. I fucking knew it. Which one of you was it? I want you to comment in the comments below which one of you it was. And let's just say I'm gonna flay you. I'm gonna flay you alive. That's what's gonna happen. So go ahead and let me know in the comments which one of you it was, and make sure you like and subscribe to make up for this. I have to write a third one of these now, and I don't even get my dip cone at Dairy Queen. My wrath knows no bounds. Oh man, we're gonna have to start another war. Maybe a couple more plagues when I get out of here. Oh, that's the last time I ever click on an ad that has a beautiful elder god in the fucking ad. Oh, I knew better. I knew better. I know, that's the end of this. I'll write the third one.